Chapter 21-24. His body was constantly being pulled toward the universe portal. Seeing Fengshen Tianzuan's solemn expression, Lin Tian also became serious. "Senior, please tell me." His body was constantly being pulled into the universe portal. He knew that he would be pulled in sooner or later, so he didn't care about this at all. It was as if nothing had happened as he earnestly looked at Empyrean Divine Seal. Fengshen Tianzuan, Celestial, Venerable Zonglong, and the others were also being pulled into the universe portal. He said, "First, as the ancient ancestor of the celestial court said, the dark yellow universe will soon usher in the great destruction. Needless to say, the source of the destruction is naturally the celestial court. Since we are being pulled into the dark yellow universe, there is absolutely no possibility of opening the universe portal unless we reach the sky-reaching realm. Therefore, this time, we will be caught in the great destruction of the dark yellow universe. After entering the dark yellow universe, before the great destruction begins, we must do our best to prepare everything." Second, Fengshen Tianzuan paused and continued. "Although I don't want to say it, the real power of the celestial court is really terrible. It is certain that this time, the dark yellow universe will be destroyed like the Tai universe and the other 7 universes. Remember, when more than 70% of the universe is destroyed, there will be a violent shock in the big world. At that time, the Dharma of heaven and earth, which is the so-called order, will be many times easier to comprehend than under normal circumstances. In the great destruction, on the premise of ensuring your absolute safety, don't miss that opportunity and use your heart to comprehend it." Third, Fengshen Tianzuan's expression became extremely solemn, and a strong luster of fear flashed in his deep eyes. He said, "When more than 90% of the universe is destroyed, most of the territory will have completely disappeared and become turbid. At that time, immediately find a place that can completely hide your life, aura, and hide. Don't show up no matter what." Lin Tian was slightly shocked when he heard the 3 points mentioned by Fengshen Tianzuan. The dark yellow universe will usher in the great destruction and will be destroyed. When the universe is destroyed 70%, it is easiest to comprehend the power of order. When 90% of the universe is destroyed, we have to find a place to hide. Looking at Fengshen Tianzuan, he couldn't help but ask, when the universe is 90% destroyed, is there any special danger? The inevitable destruction of the black-yellow universe and the ease of perceiving and controlling the order when the universe was 70% destroyed had moved him, but the third point mentioned by Fengshen Tianzuan concerned him the most. He could feel that something terrifying would definitely appear at that time, because when Fengshen Tianzuan mentioned that, there was obvious fear in his eyes. One had to know that Fengshen Tianzuan was the #1 disciple of the mortal monarch. What kind of situation was it to be able to make such a hero reveal, such a fearful expression? There was no need to think about it to know that it was extremely terrifying. Fengshen Tianzuan paused and said, "The true source of destruction will appear. No one in the world can stop it." Boom! The void rumbled, and above the firmament, the universe portal gradually shrank. However, the sweeping force became even more ferocious. Lin Tian, Fengshen Tianzuan, and the others were swept into the universe portal. They couldn't break free and were soon swept to the edge of the universe portal. Fengshen Tianzuan looked at Lin Tian and said, "This is what Master told us in the past. We haven't really experienced the great destruction." He looked at Lin Tian and said, "This is the 8th great destruction of the universe. Remember, you must survive. Survive, and together with us, we will end the 9th great destruction. The ultimate battlefield will be in our primordial universe." Lin Tian was moved, and then he nodded seriously. "I will return to our universe alive. Seniors, you too. Buzz." The void hummed, and in the next moment, he, Fengshen Tianzuan, and the others were swept into the universe portal and disappeared from the celestial realm of nothingness. At the same time, the universe portal shook and disappeared after 3 breaths. The surrounding space suddenly became much quieter. After being swept into the universe portal, Lin Tian's vision suddenly became pitch black. He couldn't see anything. Even when he sent out his divine consciousness, he couldn't sense anything. He could only feel that the surrounding space was shaking, which made him feel a little dizzy. At that moment, he didn't dare to move casually. He quickly withdrew his divine consciousness, worried that there would be an accident. After all, this was the universe portal, which was far from being comparable to the world portal. If there was an accident in the universe portal, he reckoned that ordinary transcending heaven existences would die instantly. As such, he didn't move in the universe portal. He waited quietly. After that, time passed. After an unknown amount of time, the universe tunnel suddenly trembled. Light appeared in front of him, and with a bang, he was knocked out of the universe tunnel, allowing him to step on solid ground again. Looking around, he was surrounded by magnificent mountains. The ancient trees were very dense, and the spiritual energy in the air was very dense. This is the black-yellow universe? At first glance, there was nothing special about the surrounding environment. It was no different from the Hongmeng universe he was in before. However, he knew very well that this place definitely belonged to the black-yellow universe, because the universe portal was opened by the 9 ancient ancestors of the Celestial Court. The 9 wanted to bring them into the black-yellow universe, trap them there, and then kill them in the great destruction of the black-yellow universe. In this way, the space they were in now was definitely the black-yellow universe. It was impossible for them to be in the Hongmeng universe. He glanced around and spread out his divine consciousness, but he didn't find any trace or aura of Fengshen Tianzuan and the others. They're really scattered, he muttered to himself. Standing in place, he paused for a moment. He remembered what Fengshen Tianzuan told him before and took a deep breath. Let's find the little guy and the stupid tiger first, and then make other preparations. The white tiger and the little Taichu were also involved in the black-yellow universe. Their cultivation was only in the Saint King realm. He had to find them as soon as possible. Although it was difficult, it had to be done. As for Fengshen Tianzuan and the others, their cultivation was at the peak of the virtual sky. They were much stronger than him now, so there was no reason for him to worry about them. He immediately left this place. While looking for the little Taichu and the white tiger, he made various preparations for the great destruction. At the same time, he didn't forget to cultivate hard and improve his strength. In the blink of an eye, a year passed. In this year, he learned a lot about the black-yellow universe. He went to many places and made many preparations for the great destruction, but he still couldn't find the little Taichu and the white tiger. Then, time passed. Another half a year passed in the blink of an eye. His cultivation reached the 2nd tier of the Saint King realm, and he made more preparations for the great destruction, but he still couldn't find the little Taichu and the white tiger. He didn't even find a clue. It was also on this day that he walked in a vast world in the black-yellow universe that was like the heavenly realm of nothingness. The sky suddenly trembled. Space portals opened in many places, and densely packed figures walked out. They were all wearing the armor of the Celestial Court. The great destruction begins. A cold voice sounded from the group of figures. Immediately, these densely packed cultivators wearing the armor of the Celestial Court rushed down from the sky, and the will of destruction swept in all directions. Chapter 21-25. Along with the cold voice, numerous Celestial Court cultivators descended from the sky. Slaughter to your heart's content. Enjoy this feast of slaughter and destroy everything. It's been a long time since I've done something like this. Kill. There were too many of these cultivators. It was impossible to count how many there were. All of them wore the unique armor of the Celestial Court. Their eyes were cold and merciless. After rushing down from the sky, they directly launched a destructive attack on the creatures of this world. People of the Celestial Court, the cultivators of this universe obviously knew about the Celestial Court. It seemed that the Celestial Court also existed in this universe. All of them were terrified. Then, shrill screams rang out. Puff! 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 Blood exploded one by one, dyeing the void surface red in the blink of an eye. The celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the Celestial Court rushed into this world of the Xianwang universe and killed everyone in sight. The cultivators of this universe began to fight back with all their might. However, it was very difficult to resist the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court. Lin Tian looked at this world of this universe. Mountains and rivers were collapsing. Cultivators died one after another, screaming miserably. They were mercilessly slaughtered by the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court. He wanted to help the cultivators of this world to resist, but in the end, he did not do so. It was not that he was heartless or merciless. It was just that now that this universe had fallen into the great destruction, he first had to ensure that he could survive. Moreover, he had to find the white tiger and little Taichu. He really did not have too much energy to care about these strangers. The strongest cultivator of the celestial court, who rushed into this place, was only a saint venerable. He used a special technique to conceal all of his aura and went into the distance like a ghost. Where are the little fellow and the stupid tiger now? With the arrival of the great apocalypse, this world began to be mercilessly slaughtered by the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court. He guessed that it was the same everywhere else in this universe. The celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court were slaughtering all living things in this universe. Under such circumstances, he was very worried about little Taichu and the white tiger. After all, although the little guy and the white tiger were not weak, they were only in the Saint King realm. They would be in great danger if they were to face the army of destruction of the celestial court. He concealed his aura and his figure, heading towards a very remote location in this world. He was far away from the core battlefield, and very soon, he had crossed a very long distance. Boom! Up ahead, space rumbled as a cultivator from the celestial court charged into a village. Blood splashed everywhere. The village wasn't small. There were more than 1,000 households, and they were all ordinary mortals. For a moment, the entire village was in chaos. Mother! Some of the children were so scared that they started crying. Up ahead, a middle-aged woman was cut in half. Her brain matter and blood splashed everywhere. It was a ghastly sight. Too weak. You haven't even reached the body refinement realm. What's the point of your existence? Ridiculous. A cultivator from the celestial court mocked. He raised his hand and swung his sword down. Then, the children's cries disappeared, and they turned into a bloody mist. What are you? Ah, sister. Screams and cries of terror echoed in the village. There weren't many cultivators from the celestial court who had entered the village. There were only 9 of them. However, to these ordinary villagers, these 9 cultivators from the celestial court were existences that they could not understand or fight against. Blood was flowing, and screams were echoing. This ordinary village welcomed destruction on this day. Whether it was the elderly in their twilight years or the stumbling children, the 9 celestial soldiers and celestial generals did not let them go. They mercilessly massacred everyone they saw. Lin Tian had originally planned to ignore the lives of the strangers in this universe. This was because in this apocalypse, he had to be extremely cautious. He had to protect himself and quickly find the little Taichu and the white tiger. However, when he passed by and saw these ordinary mortals being mercilessly massacred by the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court, he couldn't stand it anymore. Even pregnant women and infants were not spared. Bastards! His eyes were cold. Perhaps it was because the actions of the 9 celestial soldiers and celestial generals were too cruel, or perhaps it was because he subconsciously thought of the hundreds of thousands of ordinary mortals that he had killed by mistake. At this moment, a surge of anger rushed to his heart. Clang! Jian Shao immediately thought of this and acted. He appeared in the small village in one step and condensed a holy light sword in his hand. He pierced through a celestial soldier of the celestial court, who was aiming a butcher's knife at a plain-clothed boy. The plain-clothed boy was about 7 years old. His clothes were full of patches. At this moment, his eyes were dull, and he was motionless on the spot. He was completely scared out of his wits. It was as if he had become a vegetable, and his consciousness had completely disappeared. Lin Tian squatted down and picked up the boy. A holy light surged out of his body and into the boy's body. The boy's dull eyes gradually regained some luster. Then, the boy immediately trembled, and his eyes were filled with fear. "Good boy, don't be afraid. It's okay." Lin Tian held the boy and said in a gentle voice. However, an ordinary 7-year-old boy would not have experienced such a thing. His familiar neighbors were slaughtered one by one, and his parents were dead. Although Lin Tian's voice was very gentle, it could not erase the fear in the boy's heart in an instant. At this moment, being held by Lin Tian, the boy could not help but tremble. He did not cry, but tears kept falling from his eyes that were filled with fear. Some of them were tears of fear, and some of them were tears of the pain of losing his parents on this day. Seeing the boy like this, Lin Tian could not help but feel sorry for him for a moment. At the same time, he also knew that he could not eliminate the boy's fear and the pain of losing his parents in a short time. He paused for a moment, and with a slight movement of his mind, the perfect world evolved from the world seed propped up and directly sucked the boy into it. This was a real great world. There would not be any problems if the boy was sucked into it. "Who is it?" A cold voice sounded. The other 8 celestial soldiers of the celestial court, who had killed their way into the village, naturally noticed the abnormality here. At this moment, they all looked over and all of them fell on Lin Tian. Then, in the next moment, the 8 celestial soldiers were all moved. Reincarnation. Reincarnation form. The 8 celestial soldiers were not strong, but they were at the level of true immortals. At this moment, they saw Lin Tian's constitution. In an instant, the 8 celestial soldiers' eyes all lit up. They had actually seen the legendary reincarnation form. "Take him down!" In the next moment, the 8 celestial soldiers all moved. All of them rushed toward Lin Tian. The legendary reincarnation form had actually appeared in front of them. This made them extremely shocked and pleasantly surprised. This was because, according to legend, the origin of the reincarnation form contained all possibilities. It was the #1 treasure in this great world, even more attractive than the power of order. In an instant, 8 true immortal-level auras surged, sealing the space in all directions and pressing down on Lin Tian from different directions. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as he looked at the 8 celestial soldiers. A cold light flashed in his eyes. In the next moment, puff, 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 the 8 celestial soldiers of the celestial court all exploded at the same time. All of them were destroyed in body and soul. The village was in ruins, and the ground was stained with blood. Out of thousands of villagers, only a few hundred were still alive. At this moment, they looked at Lin Tian with horror on their faces and could not help but tremble. It was also at this moment that in the distant sky, the space rumbled. An extremely strong sage aura surged and rushed toward this place rapidly. Chapter 21-26. The figure with 12 wings on its back arrived in the blink of an eye. It appeared in the sky above the village and stood in midair. "I sense a familiar aura. It really is you, Ant?" The 12-winged figure looked down at Lin Tian with cold eyes. In the village, the hundreds of villagers who were still alive had just experienced the merciless massacre of the 9 heavenly soldiers of the celestial court. When they saw a 12-winged figure standing in the sky, they couldn't help but tremble even more violently. Lin Tian looked at the 12-winged figure and was moved. A cold glint flashed across his eyes. "It's you." This was a familiar person. Back in the primordial universe, the other party had appeared 3 times as a clone. The first time he was killed by an old drunkard. The second time he was killed by Lin Tian's reincarnation matter. The third time he was destroyed by Wu Yi's divine chains of order. It was the 12-winged saint. Lin Tian didn't expect to see him here again. At the same time, he could tell that this was the original body of the other party. He also sensed that the other party's cultivation was at the sovereign realm. Those old fellows said that they swept you into this universe and called you a reincarnated being. That's indeed the case. I'm a little surprised. I didn't expect an ant like you to be a reincarnated being. You've got guts. The 12-winged saint said coldly as he looked at Lin Tian. At the same time, a glint flashed across his eyes. Lin Tian's eyes narrowed. The old fellows that the other party mentioned should be the ancient ancestors of the celestial court. Those ancient ancestors of the celestial court could kill ordinary, immortal realm existences like cutting grass. However, the 12-winged saint was only at the sovereign realm, yet he dared to call those ancient ancestors of the celestial court old fellows so casually. It seems like your identity isn't ordinary. He looked at the other party and said. The 12-winged saint narrowed his eyes. Clearly, he knew that Lin Tian had deduced something from his words. What an intelligent ant. Unfortunately, this intelligence is of no use. He stared at Lin Tian, then lifted his hand to seize Lin Tian. Before I obtain the world seed and send you to the one and only true world, I will torture you properly, and you can slowly enjoy it. The might of a dominator interweaved. His eyes were cold as he thought back to the 3 incarnations that had been destroyed. They were all related to Lin Tian. Now that he saw Lin Tian again, the coldness of having his incarnations destroyed 3 times in a row erupted together, shattering the void in all directions. The sovereign's pressure made his body ache slightly. After all, he was only a second heaven holy venerate. It was very difficult for him to block a sovereign with his own strength. However, his expression did not change in the slightest. He did not reveal the slightest bit of fear or dread. Buzz! Holy light interweaved outside his body as he propped up the perfect world and directly took in the hundreds of villagers who were still alive in this place. This is... A glint flashed through the 12-winged sacred emissary's eyes. The world seed has already been turned into a world by you. As he said that, he laughed coldly. Not bad. You saved me a lot of time to nurture it. As he said that, he extended his hand towards Lin Tian's giant hand. His might became even stronger, and the hand covered the sky. It was terrifying. My incarnations have been destroyed 3 times. This time, my true body has personally come, but the outcome will not change. You still won't have it easy, Lin Tianling said. As he finished speaking, with a thought, 3 Baodan appeared in his hand, and he crushed them. Instantly, a colorless and odorless halo interweaved and spread out, enveloping the space within a radius of 1,000 feet with him as the center. The 12-winged sacred emissary trembled slightly. The holy light of the giant hand pressing down on Lin Tian weakened a lot, and the essence, energy, and spirit he exuded also rapidly weakened. The eyes of the sovereign 12-winged sacred emissary immediately turned cold. How do you feel? Lin Tian was very calm. After entering this universe, he had been to many places, always making preparations to welcome the great calamity. One of them was the Nirvana pill, a sovereign-level pill that could weaken a cultivator's battle prowess to a certain extent. Of course, it was only effective on sovereigns and cultivators below the sovereign level. Moreover, the effect could only last for half an hour. Just now, the 3 Baodan he used were the Nirvana pills, which weakened the 12-winged sacred emissary's battle power to the level of an 8th heaven holy venerate. The 12-winged sacred emissary's eyes were cold. The battle power of an 8th heaven holy venerate is enough to suppress a 2nd-level holy venerate ant like you. As he finished speaking, the giant hand continued to press down on Lin Tian. His saint might surged violently. Lin Tian did not say anything and directly met the attack with a punch. The next moment, there was a muffled sound as the 2's fists collided. The surrounding space immediately collapsed in patches. Bang! The 12-winged sacred emissary was sent flying. His arm cracked, and blood splattered across the space. The 12-winged sacred emissary steadied himself in the distance. His expression changed. He had actually been sent flying by Lin Tian's punch. Moreover, he was injured. Lin Tian looked at the other party and did not say anything. He directly stepped forward and pressed forward. Now, he was invincible among those below the dominator rank. With a whoosh, he was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he appeared in front of the 12-winged sacred emissary and slapped him. Slap! The solid slap sent the 12-winged sacred emissary flying again. Teeth mixed with blood splattered across the space. The 12-winged sacred emissary was shocked and furious. Bone-chilling murderous intent appeared on his face. Lin Tian had actually slapped him, and he roared. The 12 wings behind him shone brightly as a divine ring flashed. Heaven's judgment. As soon as the divine ring appeared, the space trembled. Its aura was extremely terrifying. Lin Tian's expression changed. His opponent's battle prowess had clearly been suppressed to the 8th heaven of the Holy Venerate level. But the divine ring he summoned now was somewhat terrifying. It actually made him feel pressured. It should be known that even a peak Holy Venerate's battle prowess should not be able to make him feel pressured. This directly showed that his opponent's bloodline was extremely terrifying. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to feel pressured when his battle prowess had been suppressed to the 8th heaven of the Holy Venerate level. However, although he felt pressured now, his expression still did not change. The reincarnation diagram appeared behind him. It intertwined with a sacred and vast aura as it went straight toward the divine ring. In the next instant, the two collided and exploded into a sky full of rainbow light. With a whoosh, the 12-winged sacred emissary's divine ring shattered. The reincarnation diagram's momentum did not decrease. It continued to press down on his opponent and landed on his body in the next instant. Puff! Chapter 21-27. The 12-winged Saint Emissary was shattered. His flesh wriggled and reformed in the blink of an eye. Staring at Lin Tian, the 12-winged Saint Emissary's expression turned even colder. He was clearly a Dominator rank expert, but Lin Tian's Naluo pill had suppressed his battle prowess to the 8th heaven of Saint Venerable level. Now his body had been shattered by Lin Tian. This was undoubtedly a great humiliation. One had to know that he was now using his true body. Lin Tian looked at the emissary without any change in his expression. He took a step forward. Clang! He activated the High Heaven Sword Scripture. Golden sword light instantly spread out in all directions, slashing at the emissary from different angles. The 12-winged Saint Emissary flapped his wings. Holy light intertwined and met the dense sword light head-on. However, he was no match for it. The holy light was shattered in the blink of an eye. The golden high heaven sword light slashed forward mightily. Puff! Blood splattered. A sword light pierced through his chest, causing a large amount of blood to splatter everywhere. What level of faction is behind you all? What is your goal of destroying the universe time and time again? Looking at the 12-winged Saint Emissary, Lin Tian stepped forward. He guessed that there should be a huge clan behind the 12-winged Saint Emissary. This clan also belonged to the Celestial Court and was very terrifying. Their overall strength was far above the Celestial Court's ancient ancestors. Otherwise, the emissary wouldn't have the courage to casually address the ancient ancestors of the Celestial Court as old fogies. He was also puzzled by the Celestial Court's repeated destruction of the universe. He could imagine that this clan definitely had a huge ambition. However, he didn't know what this ambition was. He had forgotten to ask Fengshen Tianzuan. The 12-winged Saint Emissary snorted. You ant, are you worthy of knowing my master's ambition? Lin Tian's eyes were cold. He didn't say anything else. He sped up and appeared in front of the emissary in an instant. Bang! He swung his fist. His fist was extremely fast and landed on the emissary's face. With a bang, the emissary was sent flying. Blood floated in the air bit by bit. Then, he raised his hand and formed the seal of the 4 symbols, which pressed down on his opponent. The 12-winged Saint Emissary steadied himself and looked at Lin Tian. His eyes were even colder and more sinister. The great apocalypse has begun. With your cultivation, you won't be able to escape. I'll let you live for a while longer. After saying that, the 12-winged divine emissary turned around and left. He knew very well that his battle prowess had been suppressed to the level of a holy venerate. He was no match for Lin Tian. If he forced himself to fight, he would most likely die at Lin Tian's hands. With a so sound, his speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already extremely far away. Lin Tian's eyes were cold as she chased after him. Moreover, he swung the towering heaven sword scripture, slashing out densely packed golden sword lights that pressed down on his opponent. Pooh! A sword ray pierced through the back of the 12-winged Saint Emissary, causing a large amount of blood to splash out. The 12-winged Saint Emissary's body trembled, and his expression became even more sinister. He clenched his teeth and wanted to swallow Lin Tian whole. However, his footsteps did not slow down at all. He continued to flee at an even faster speed. "Didn't you want to suppress me? Why are you running away?" Lin Tian said coldly as he sped up. Clang! He continued to activate the towering heaven sword scripture, and densely packed sword lights continuously slashed at his opponent. From time to time, a sword light would pierce through his opponent, causing a large amount of blood to splash out. Lord Divine Emissary. In this world, there were celestial soldiers and celestial generals from the celestial court in every region. Lin Tian's pursuit of the 12-winged divine emissary was quickly seen by some of the celestial soldiers and celestial generals. Then, all the celestial soldiers and celestial generals who saw this scene all moved and charged toward Lin Tian. These celestial soldiers and celestial generals were not weak. They all had the battle prowess of a holy king. Moreover, there was even an early-stage holy venerate among them. Scram! Lin Tian's eyes were cold as the aura of a holy venerate swept out. Puff! 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 The celestial soldiers and celestial generals were immediately sent flying and exploded in the distance. Even the early-stage holy venerate was no exception. They could not block Lin Tian's attack at all. His gaze landed on the 12-winged divine emissary. This person's identity was not ordinary. He should know many great secrets. Lin Tian wanted to suppress him and obtain all kinds of information from him. Clang! He waved the towering heaven sword scripture, and a large amount of sword light shot out again. In the blink of an eye, a few transparent bloody holes were left on the 12-winged divine emissary's body. Blood continued to splatter into the air. The 12-winged divine emissary was extremely shocked and furious. Being chased by Lin Tian like this, and being heavily injured again and again, his murderous intent surged. However, no matter how violent his murderous intent was, he knew that he could not stop Lin Tian. He could only choose to continue fleeing. Lin Tian chased behind the 12-winged divine emissary. Soon, more celestial soldiers and celestial generals saw him and came forward to stop him. Among them, there was even a fifth-layer holy venerate with powerful holy venerate might. However, they could not stop him at all and were killed in the blink of an eye. Soon, a quarter of an hour passed. Although the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court discovered him and came forward to kill him, he still caught up to the 12-winged divine emissary and directly raised his hand to suppress him. "How dare you?" It was also at this moment that a cold voice came from the end of the celestial court, shattering a large part of the space here. Lin Tian's body trembled slightly, and his eyes immediately focused. Void Sky rank. Then, without hesitation, he abandoned the 12-winged divine emissary and retreated as fast as he could. He also took out a profound jade array platform, opened a space door, and stepped into it. With Yang Kai's current cultivation, it was impossible for him to resist a void heaven-grade master. The preparations he had made were also not enough for him to fight a master of this level. He could only protect himself when facing a master of this level. With a swoosh, he disappeared from the spot in an instant. The spatial door also disappeared along with him. Almost in the next moment, the Void Sky rank expert at the end of the horizon arrived and appeared in front of the 12-winged divine emissary. "Sir, are you all right?" This person bowed respectfully. The 12-winged divine emissary's face was cold. His body was stained with blood, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. "Pass down my order. Completely seal off this world. Don't destroy for the time being. Find that ant first." The 12-winged divine emissary said coldly. "Yes, sir." The Void Sky rank expert who rushed here naturally saw Lin Tian and knew that the ant the 12-winged divine emissary was referring to was Lin Tian. He immediately nodded and quickly left this place with the 12-winged divine emissary. It was impossible for him to completely seal off this great world as a void sky rank expert. He had to leave this place and take the 12-winged divine emissary to a safe place. Then, he would report to the higher-ups and pass down the 12-winged divine emissary's order. In this great world of the Xianhuang universe, killing intent swept through every region, causing the entire world to tremble. In a very barren mountain range, a space door appeared, and Lin Tian's figure stepped out from it. Stepping on solid ground again, he scanned his surroundings. Just now, the profound jade array platform was a short-distance teleportation formation that could instantly teleport him to any place within 100 miles. It was one of the preparations he made for the Great Apocalypse. Without any prior preparations, no one below the level of sky-reaching realm would be able to stop such a transportation portal. What should I do next? Leave this world and go somewhere else to find the little guy and that stupid tiger? Chapter 21-28. After entering the black-yellow universe, Lin Tianyi had been looking for the little Taichu and the white tiger. He had already passed through dozens of macro worlds. He had also searched many places in this extreme world which was comparable to the Void Realm. Although he had not completely explored this world, he kept inquiring about it. Unfortunately, he did not find any trace of the little Taichu and the white tiger. He guessed that the little guy's white tiger should not be in this world. He felt that he could go to other worlds to look for it. "Let's go," he said to himself, and decided to leave this world. In a world like this, with his current strength, he could not break the world barrier from the inside. However, he had the boundary-crossing talisman that Black Yellow had given him. With this kind of talisman, he could break the world barrier of the extreme world and leave. Boom! Suddenly, just as he was about to take out the boundary-crossing talisman to break the world barrier, the world suddenly trembled. The sky shook, and there was an invisible force surging, which made him change his expression immediately. "It's blocked." He was moved. At this time, he sensed the changes in this world. There was an additional layer of extremely astonishing power that interweaved within this world. It was as if this extremely large world had turned into a prison, sealing everything within. Then he took out the boundary-crossing talisman and activated it. His expression froze again. As he had expected, the boundary-crossing talisman, refined by Black Yellow, was useless at this time. "Ants in this world, you will all perish. But now, I'll give you a chance to live. Catch this human bug and bring him to me. Then you can live. I'll wait at the center of this world." A ghastly voice resounded, and it reverberated through this extremely large world. It was unknown what sort of method was used to spread this voice, and then a divine sense brand appeared in every corner of this world. Surprisingly, it was Lin Tian's appearance. Hearing this voice and looking at his appearance in the divine sense imprint, Lin Tian's eyes turned cold. He was very familiar with this voice. It was the 12-winged Saint Emissary. "You dog," he said coldly. The other party's words were clearly pushing him into the abyss of destruction. This was because it was very difficult for the cultivators of this world to stop the Celestial Court. They were all going to be killed. Under such circumstances, he would be able to survive if he was captured and sent to the center of this world. He could imagine that most of the cultivators of this world would attack him as soon as they saw him. The cultivators of the Celestial Court wanted to wipe out all life in this world and destroy it. As long as they saw him, they would suppress and kill him. As a result, he became the target of everyone in this world. The sealing of this great world was also done by that son of a bitch, right? He muttered to himself coldly. The 12-winged Saint Emissary was only at the Dominator rank, so it was impossible for him to seal off such a large world. Even ordinary omnipotent experts could not do so. However, the other party's identity was very special. He should be able to command the other supreme experts of the Celestial Court in this world. Could there be an ancestor of the Celestial Court in this world? He frowned. This world was very vast. It was comparable to the celestial realm of nothingness. It was impossible to seal off such a great world and prevent anyone from entering or leaving even if thousands of omnipotent experts worked together. Only an existence like the ancestor of the celestial court, or an existence stronger than the ancestor of the celestial court, could do it. Of course, he could not rule out the possibility of other very special ancient treasures that could seal off such a great world. He paused in place and could not help but frown. He could not leave this world for the time being. Later, he would be attacked by all the cultivators of this world. It was really terrible. For the time being, find an absolutely hidden place and think about what to do next, he muttered to himself. Then his expression changed slightly. He suddenly tilted his head and looked toward the southeast of this place. Just now, the seven-colored divine sword in his sea of consciousness suddenly trembled. Seven-colored divine light overflowed and rippled in his sea of consciousness toward the southeast like water ripples. This situation was exactly the same as when he found a new sword soul fragment in the past. Immediately, his eyes shone with a bright light as he soared into the sky and rushed towards the southeast at top speed. There was a new sword soul fragment there. He could not help but be pleasantly surprised. Whoosh! His current speed was extremely fast. With a burst of air-piercing sounds, he quickly crossed a distance of hundreds of thousands of feet. Rumble! In front of him, in a continuous mountain range, groups of cultivators were fighting fiercely. There were heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals of the celestial court, as well as cultivators of this world. All kinds of divine light and saint spells were rampaging. Pieces of the void were destroyed, and the mountains collapsed one after another. That's the person that the Lord ordered us to capture. He's also a reincarnation body. Some of the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals of the celestial court discovered Lin Tian. Their cultivation levels ranged from quasi-saint to saint king. When they saw Lin Tian, they were first moved, then shocked again. Not only did they recognize Lin Tian as the person that the 12-winged saint had ordered to capture, but they also saw that Lin Tian's body constitution was a reincarnation body. Let's not care about his body constitution first. Suppress him and capture him. After that, the Lord will definitely reward you handsomely. A powerful heavenly general spoke and rushed directly toward Lin Tian. Then, in this place, the other heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals also rushed toward Lin Tian. They temporarily stopped their attacks on the cultivators of this world, and their eyes were shining brightly. Lin Tian's value was much higher than these people. There was no comparison between the two at all. Almost at the same time, in this place, the cultivators of this world who had been attacked by the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals were also moved. Their gazes all fell on Lin Tian. This is that person. Capture him, and we won't have to die. These cultivators stared at Lin Tian. Many of them clenched their fists. Then, like the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals of the celestial court, they all rushed toward Lin Tian. They all locked onto Lin Tian with their divine senses. Normally, these people would be shocked by Lin Tian's body constitution, but at this time they were not. They only thought that if they captured Lin Tian, they would not have to be killed. In an instant, the cultivators of the celestial court and other cultivators who had been fighting to the death in this place all rushed toward Lin Tian. Lin Tian looked at these people rushing toward him. He swept his gaze over the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals of the celestial court and paid them no attention. Then, his gaze fell on the cultivators of this universe who were rushing toward him. He couldn't help but smile mockingly. His eyes were much colder. Although he had already expected that most of the cultivators of this world would attack him in order to survive when they saw him, he still couldn't help but sigh when he saw this scene. How pitiful! The celestial court wanted to destroy this world and slaughter all the living beings of this world. Originally, these cultivators of this world should have viewed the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals of the celestial court as mortal enemies who had invaded their territory. They should have fought to the death with them. But now, in order to survive, these people listened to the 12-winged saint's words and raised their weapons at him. In order to survive, they helped the enemy who had invaded their territory wave their weapons. Where was their dignity? Chapter 21-29. Lin Tian's expression was indifferent as he watched the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court and the cultivators of the black-yellow universe charging toward him. He did not stop and continued to head southeast. At the same time, a sword ray appeared beside him and turned into a rain of swords that slashed toward the side. The expressions of the celestial soldiers and celestial generals who rushed over immediately changed. They faced the sharp sword ray and felt the threat of death. At this moment, the celestial soldiers and celestial generals instantly realized that they had not seen Lin Tian's strength clearly. Lin Tian was much stronger than them and was not someone they could deal with. Retreat! A celestial general at the peak of the Saint King realm roared and stopped to rush toward Lin Tian. He quickly retreated with the other celestial soldiers and celestial generals. At the same time, the cultivators of the black-yellow universe, who rushed toward Lin Tian, also changed their expressions and retreated together. However, compared to the speed of Lin Tian's sword ray, their retreating speed was too slow. In the blink of an eye, the celestial sword ray rolled over and immediately drowned the group of people. Blood immediately splashed, and blood mist exploded. The heavenly soldiers, heavenly generals, and the cultivators of the black-yellow universe were all destroyed in an instant. No one survived. After all, the strongest among these people was only at the peak of the Saint King realm. How could they stop Lin Tian, who was at the Saint Master realm? Lin Tian soared through the air, not minding killing these people at all. Soon he was far away from this area. He was very fast. In the process of heading southeast, he encountered several groups of celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court. However, the cultivation of these celestial soldiers and celestial generals was only at the first level of the Saint Master realm. All the celestial soldiers and celestial generals who attacked him were all killed in the blink of an eye. At the same time, the cultivators of the black-yellow universe attacked him in the process. They wanted to capture him and offer him to the 12-winged Saint Emissary to save their lives. He showed no mercy to these people and killed them all with his sword. Speaking of which, to destroy a large world comparable to the celestial void realm. Even if more than 10,000 ordinary Master Heaven-level experts worked together, they still wouldn't be able to do it. After that, how exactly is the Heavenly Court going to destroy this world? Did they rely on the accumulation of time to destroy it? Or an existence comparable to the ancient ancestor of the Celestial Court finally destroy this world? As he headed to the southeast, he pondered, but if the ancient ancestor of the Celestial Court could destroy this world on his own, why did he send the Celestial Army and Celestial Generals to carry out a massacre in various regions of this world? Is it necessary? He was puzzled. That human, the person that the Lord specifically wants to suppress. Suddenly, there was a cry of surprise. More celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the Celestial Court appeared in front of him. There were hundreds of them. There were corpses on the ground all around. There was no telling how many there were, but they were all cultivators of this world who had died at the hands of the Celestial Court's celestial soldiers and celestial generals. There were no longer any cultivators of this world in this area. Capture him. The hundreds of celestial soldiers and celestial generals had just killed all the cultivators of this world in this area when they saw Lin Tian appear. Then, all the celestial soldiers and celestial generals rushed toward Lin Tian. 3 of them were Saint Venerables, while the others were 7th Heaven Saints and Peak Saint Kings. Lin Tian's expression didn't change at all. He raised his hand and slapped down. Boom! This slap was a great divine power. It carried the strength of a 2nd Heaven Saint Venerable and directly shattered the void. Then, the cultivators of the Celestial Court exploded. In the end, only one Saint Venerable was left. This Saint Venerable survived, but his body was covered in blood. He was severely injured. When he looked at Lin Tian, his expression changed completely. He couldn't help but tremble. There were hundreds of celestial soldiers and celestial generals. Including him, there were 3 Saint Venerables and more than 300 Saint Kings. But now, Lin Tian had killed everyone except him with a slap. He was the only one left alive. How terrifying was his combat strength. Moreover, what frightened him even more was that he sensed that Lin Tian seemed to have deliberately left him alive. Otherwise, he would have died just like the others. This person trembled and immediately fled into the distance. However, He hadn't gone far when his body trembled violently. The space around him was completely frozen. Lin Tian stepped forward and sealed the surrounding space. He appeared before this person and directly imprisoned him with the four-symbol seal. Just now, he had indeed intended to leave this person alive. This person was the strongest of the hundreds of celestial soldiers and celestial generals. He wanted to find out how the celestial court had destroyed this world from this person, as well as other things about the celestial court. What are you doing? This saint venerable general couldn't help but tremble. When he saw Lin Tian walk over, he immediately felt the threat of death. Lin Tian didn't say anything. He directly extended his divine sense into this person's sea of consciousness to search for everything he wanted to know. Very soon his expression changed. A cold light flashed through his eyes. From this person's sea of consciousness, he learned that the reason these celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court had charged into this world and continuously slaughtered living beings in various regions was to use a special container to collect all the life essence that had not yet dissipated after the death of these living beings. Finally, after killing all the living beings in this world and collecting all the life essence, they would use a special forbidden weapon to directly destroy this world. He also knew that the special container to collect the life essence and the special forbidden weapon to destroy this world were both at the center of this world. At this moment, the special container at the center of this world was continuously absorbing the life essence of all the living beings that had died in this world. What kind of container is that? How can it absorb the life essence of all the living beings that have just been killed at the center of this world from such a great distance away? He was shocked. After a living being died, the life essence would not immediately dissipate. It could be absorbed. Moreover, compared to living beings, the life essence of dead beings was much easier to absorb. It was countless times simpler. However, with just a single vessel, it was able to absorb the life essence of all the living beings that had just died in this world from such a great distance away. This was somewhat shocking. Exactly what kind of magical treasure was that vessel? Moreover, on the other hand, how terrifying would a forbidden artifact that was capable of directly destroying a vast world comparable to the celestial void world be? Even if an existence like the ancestor of the celestial court had the ability to destroy an extremely large world comparable to the celestial realm of nothingness, it was probably impossible for him to forge a forbidden weapon that could directly destroy such a large world. Chapter 21:30. The Celestial Court. Lin Tian muttered to himself with a grave expression. This inheritance was truly terrifying. He paused for a moment and searched the spiritual sea of the holy, venerable cultivator from the Celestial Court again. This time, he found some information about the 12-winged divine emissary. Celestial Protector Clan? He frowned. He found the name of the 12-winged divine emissary from the holy, venerable cultivator's spiritual sea. He knew that this clan was extremely terrifying, but he could not find any other specific information. They really dare to name themselves? In the end, he snorted. Celestial Protector Clan? Heavenly Protector? Heavenly Protector? He continued to search the spiritual sea of the holy, venerable cultivator and found another piece of information. The strongest cultivators from the celestial court who had entered this world were all at the heavenly master level. There were a total of 30 of them, and none of them could be compared to ordinary heavenly masters. They could fight against 10 people of the same level, and their combat strength was terrifying. He also searched for the celestial court's purpose of absorbing life essence and destroying the universe. However, this holy, venerable cultivator did not know about these things. Clearly, he was far from being qualified to know about these things in the celestial court. Then, he retracted his divine consciousness from the holy, venerable cultivator's spiritual sea. He pointed his finger and pierced through the holy, venerable cultivator's forehead, causing the holy, venerable cultivator's spiritual sea to shatter and disappear from the world. He paused for a moment and thought for a moment. Then, he moved again and continued to head towards the southeast. He already knew what he needed to know. However, at this moment, finding the sword's soul fragment was still the most important thing for him to do. He was moving very quickly and began to use special methods to conceal all of his aura. He headed towards the southeast of this world from a very remote corner. Very quickly, an entire half a day passed, and he arrived before a vast mountain range. Looking at it, the mountain range was very ordinary. There was nothing special about it. It was the kind of mountain range that no one would normally go to. It seems like it's in this mountain range, Lin Tian muttered to himself as he looked at the mountain range in front of him. Previously, when the divine sword in his sea of consciousness had reacted, he was certain that the fragment of the sword spirit was definitely in this mountain range. Immediately, he did not hesitate and directly walked forward. Soon, he stepped into the mountain ridge. Within the mountain range, the growth of the ancient trees was not considered dense, but it was not considered sparse either. It seemed that they had been growing for a very long time. Buzz! All of a sudden, the seven-colored divine sword in his sea of consciousness trembled. Seven-colored divine light overflowed and rippled toward the east like water ripples. Immediately, a bright light flashed in his eyes. It really is in this mountain range. The reaction of the rainbow divine sword was undoubtedly because it had sensed the aura of the sword's soul fragment in this mountain range. Immediately, he headed towards the east of the mountain range. Very soon, he walked a full 10,000 feet before a dilapidated cave suddenly appeared in front of him. It was extremely inconspicuous, but when he accidentally swept his gaze over the cave, he immediately trembled. The cave was about a dozen square meters in size. There was a stone platform inside, and there was a figure sitting cross-legged on it. There was no sign of life, and it was no longer breathing. It was a corpse, and it made Lin Tian's heart palpitate for no reason. It was as if the corpse was the source of destruction. He stared at the corpse without blinking for a moment. After pausing for a moment, he cautiously walked toward the cave. His pace was very slow and careful. As he got closer to the cave, the palpitating feeling in his heart became stronger. Moreover, his body could not help but feel pain. All the bones in his body could not help but creak. There was an invisible force coming from the corpse in front of him, as if it could crush everything in the world. He gritted his teeth and endured the great pressure. Step by step, he walked forward and finally arrived in front of the corpse. It was an old man. The clothes on his body were extremely ancient. Lin Tian did not know which era he was from. Although he was a corpse, there was not the slightest bit of death aura around him. His body was not withered either. Other than the fact that he could not move, he was no different from a normal person. This made Lin Tian's heart tremble. Generally speaking, any living being would emit death aura soon after their death. However, this old man, who looked like he had been dead for a long time, did not emit any death aura at all. This was somewhat frightening. What kind of expert was this to be able to emit no death aura after his death? He came to the side of the ancient corpse. After hesitating for a moment, he stretched out his hand and placed it on the corpse. Then, he suddenly trembled, cold sweat dripping down his forehead. With a swoosh, he retracted his hand as if he had been stabbed by a sharp blade. This person, his heart palpitated. Before he touched the ancient corpse, he had already felt a great pressure. At this time, when he raised his hand and placed it on the ancient corpse, he felt an even more terrifying pressure. This pressure was not inferior to the pressure he felt from the ancient ancestors of the Celestial Court. When he was alive, he was comparable to the ancient ancestors of the Celestial Court, or even stronger. He was shocked. At the same time, when his hand landed on the ancient corpse, he could clearly feel that the saint energy in the ancient corpse was very chaotic and violent. This allowed him to vaguely guess the cause of his death. Back then, when he was cultivating in seclusion in this place to break through to a higher level, there was an accident. The saint energy and Tao energy became violent and difficult to control. In the end, the violent saint energy and Tao energy destroyed the spirit in his sea of consciousness. Is that why he died? He frowned. He had encountered such a situation before, so at this time, he instantly figured it out. He opened his mouth and was stunned for a moment. Then, he could not help but sigh. This is cultivation. It is full of dangers. This existence was comparable to the ancient ancestors of the celestial court, or even stronger than the ancient ancestors of the celestial court. In the end, he died in seclusion. How sad was that? He looked at the ancient corpse in front of him and was stunned for a dozen breaths. Then he gradually came back to his senses, and his eyes flashed. This is an unexpected gain. This existence was comparable to the ancient ancestors of the celestial court, or even stronger than the ancient ancestors of the celestial court. After his death, the saint energy in his body still existed. His body was completely immortal. It could be said that he was a super killing machine. With this ancient corpse, he could control it with his spirit. Even if he only relied on the strength of the ancient corpse's shell, he could definitely kill an ordinary sky-reaching realm expert. Looking at the ancient corpse, he took a deep breath and bowed to it seriously. Then he took out the immortal Emperor Pagoda and carefully put it into the pagoda. Chapter 21:31. Lin Tian was surprised to find such a terrifying ancient corpse in such an ordinary mountain ridge. It was like walking on a flat road and suddenly finding a pile of gold. It was a little unbelievable. However, he quickly put this unbelievable feeling away. No matter how shocking it was a good thing for him now. It gave him a super killer weapon. In this apocalyptic war of the black-yellow universe, he had greater confidence to protect himself, and his chances of survival were much higher. After putting away the ancient corpse, he took a deep breath and glanced at the center of this world with a sneer on his face. Then, relying on the feeling of the divine sword, he walked deeper into the mountain ridge. This mountain ridge was very ordinary, and there were not many demonic beasts in it. They were all ordinary animals. After about an hour, he had crossed a distance of 10,000 feet in this mountain ridge. At this time, a lake appeared in front of him. It was not very big across this mountain ridge. When he came to this place, the divine sword in his sea of consciousness immediately trembled again, intertwining with strands of seven-colored divine brilliance, pointing directly at the bottom of the lake in front of him. Lin Tian did not hesitate. He took a step forward and directly stepped into the lake. The lake was not very deep. He dived down and soon came to the bottom of the lake, where there was a large area of aquatic plants. Not far away, a pile of gray stones lay at the bottom of the lake, and a fist-sized seven-colored light source floated among the stones. Found it? Lin Tian's eyes lit up. He walked at the bottom of the lake without being affected at all. He stepped in front of the seven-colored light source. This seven-colored light source was a new sword soul fragment. He used his saint power to isolate the water around him. With a thought, the sword's soul fragment here directly jumped and entered his body, coming to the side of the divine sword in his sea of consciousness. The next moment, the sword's soul fragment merged into the divine sword. The divine sword immediately trembled slightly, and strands of seven-colored divine light gushed out. Lin Tian directly ran the Sun Heart Sutra and began to refine the seven-colored divine light. Buzz! Outside his body, divine brilliance intertwined, and his essence, chi, and spirit rose at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, a full 6 hours had passed. 6 hours later, the sword's soul fragment had completely fused with the divine sword, and the divine light outside his body had become dozens of times stronger. Very soon, I will become a third heaven, wholly venerable. A bright light flashed in his eyes. With a slight movement of his mind, the holy light outside his body was concealed within his body, and then he left the lake. In this world, the sky was a little dark, as if a storm was sweeping through this world. Next, he narrowed his eyes and looked towards the center of this world. The celestial army and celestial generals of the celestial court were massacring all kinds of living creatures in this world. At this time, the 12-winged saint emissary would definitely be there. Moreover, there were dozens of immortal ascension cultivators from the celestial court who had entered this world. Many of them should be in that place as well. He was prepared to kill his way there directly. With the ancient corpse that he had accidentally found earlier, none of the cultivators from the celestial court who had entered this world could stop him now. He wanted to go to the center of this world and kill the 12-winged saint emissary and all the immortal ascension cultivators of the celestial court who lived there. He took a deep breath and took out the immortal Emperor Pagoda beside this lake. He took out the ancient corpse within it, and then his spirit stepped out of his body and directly fused with the ancient corpse. His spirit merged into the ancient corpse. He steered the ancient corpse to stand up and opened its eyes. Immediately, two beams of light shot out from the ancient corpse's eyes, piercing through the void in front of them. Several mountains further away were also affected. Under the light of these beams of light, they immediately exploded, filling the sky with sand and dust. This caused him to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. Just now, he had only used his spirit to control it and open its eyes. However, this simple beam of light actually had such power. It was really a little terrifying, a little shocking. At the same time, his spirit body fused with the ancient corpse. At this time, his spirit body could not help but feel a slight pain. This was because the ancient corpse was too extraordinary, and the pressure within it was too great. With the current strength of his spirit, it was very difficult for him to fully adapt to this ancient corpse. I can't control it with my spirit for a long time, but it's not a big problem, he muttered to himself. He stood in place until after a full 10 breaths had passed. His spirit had barely adapted to this ancient corpse, and there was no problem in controlling it to do any actions. Then, he put his physical body into the immortal Emperor Pagoda and put away the immortal Emperor Pagoda. He controlled the ancient corpse and looked up at the center of this world. There was no life in his eyes, and they seemed very deep. Then he raised his hand and directly tore open the void in front of him, opening a void tunnel that led to the center of this world. His own cultivation was insufficient to accomplish such a feat, and he was unable to easily tear open a spatial tunnel that could traverse extremely far distances in this extremely large world that was comparable to the void celestial world. However, controlling this terrifying ancient corpse was entirely possible. Moreover, now if he wanted to, he could easily tear open the world barrier of this world that was sealed by the celestial court. He sneered and directly stepped into the torn void tunnel, disappearing from his place in an instant. The void tunnel was a little dim. He controlled the ancient corpse to step into the void tunnel. After about 10 breaths, he stepped out and appeared in a new place. Looking around, the terrain was very flat, and there was a huge palace in the center. Obviously, it was built temporarily. There were no other ancient buildings around it, and there were only hundreds of celestial court cultivators guarding outside the palace. None of these cultivators were weak. The weakest was at least a Saint King, and there were a few Void Sky rank experts. Lin Tian came here with the ancient corpse, so he naturally knew that this huge palace was one of the camps of the celestial court in this world. Moreover, he sensed the aura fluctuations of the 12-winged Saint Envoy in the palace. The one with wings, come out and welcome the guest. He sneered and shouted. At the same time, he controlled the ancient corpse and directly punched out. With a bang, the void immediately shattered, and a huge hole was pierced through the huge palace. A strong wind swept out. Except for a few Void Sky rank experts, the other celestial court cultivators around the huge palace were instantly shattered by the strong wind. Not even their souls were preserved, and all of them were destroyed. Who is it? The few surviving Void Sky rank experts were shocked and angry. Blood was dripping from their bodies, and they were covered in cracks. They looked like cracked ceramics that could shatter at any time. They looked up at the ancient corpse controlled by Lin Tian in the sky. Chapter 2132. 30 of the heavenly court's sky-reaching realm experts had entered this world. Now, 20 of them had gone to various regions of this world to fight, leaving only 10 to guard the center of this world. This was because in this extremely large world that was as vast as the heavenly realm of nothingness, there would naturally be sky-reaching realm experts. Ordinary heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals would not be able to deal with them. Lin Tian stood in the sky and looked at the 10 sky-level powerhouses and the 12-winged saint of the celestial court. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. The one with wings, we meet again. He looked at the 12-winged saint and spoke with a cold smile. The 12-winged saint and the 10 sky-level powerhouses all felt a chill because of the destruction of the palace. They could tell that this was not a living person. When they heard Lin Tian's voice, they paused for a moment. Then their expressions changed. "It's you!" As a Dominator-level powerhouse, the 12-winged saint was naturally not ordinary. When he heard Lin Tian's voice, he knew that this was Lin Tian. At least it was Lin Tian inside. It was Lin Tian who was controlling the corpse in front of him. "My lord, who is he?" Beside him, one of the 10 sky-level powerhouses asked. The 12-winged saint looked at the ancient corpse that Lin Tian was controlling and said coldly, "Reincarnated body. His spirit should have entered this corpse." When these words were said, the 10 sky-level powerhouses were all shocked. Previously, the 12-winged saint had ordered the entire world to hunt down Lin Tian. These 10 sky-level powerhouses naturally knew about this. Now that they heard the 12-winged saint's words, their eyes could not help but light up. "Capture him and extract his spirit. Then find his original body," the 12-winged saint ordered. At this moment, Lin Tian smiled. He controlled the ancient corpse and directly raised his hand to grab the 12-winged saint. It was just an ordinary move, but the surrounding void directly shattered, and spatial turbulence poured out wantonly. Such power shocked the 12-winged saint emissary. Even the faces of the 10 transcending heaven elites froze. This pure physical attack was definitely comparable to a superpower of a sky-level powerhouse. Protect the Lord! Although his cultivation level was much higher than that of the 12-winged saint emissary, his position in the celestial court was much lower than that of the other party. At this moment, he stepped forward and raised his hand to attack Lin Tian. In the blink of an eye, this person's large hand collided with Lin Tian's large hand. Pooh! Blood splattered everywhere. The transcending heaven expert's arm was crushed, and he was sent flying like a scarecrow. At the same time, Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse to move at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, he arrived in front of the person who was sent flying and punched him with all his might. Dong! With a loud boom, the sky seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. His fist landed firmly on the other party's chest. This time, the Heavenspan expert's fleshly body exploded, and only his soul remained. His eyes were filled with terror as he retreated at top speed. However, Lin Tian did not give him the slightest chance. Controlling the ancient corpse, he punched again with all his might. This was just pure physical strength, but it was terrifying. It froze the surrounding void, making it difficult for the other party's spirit to escape. In the next moment, the other party's spirit was directly smashed into pieces by the punch. Body shattered, soul destroyed. Lord Heavenly Master, you actually... How can this be? At this place, the Void Heaven rank experts who were still alive despite being heavily injured all paled in shock. Heavenspan experts were called Heavenly Masters in the Celestial Court. But now, one of their Celestial Court Heavenly Masters was killed in the blink of an eye. The other 9 Heavenly Masters and the 12-winged Saint Emissary were also shocked. The 12-winged Saint Emissary was shocked and furious. Where did you find this ancient corpse? As a Sovereign Realm expert, the 12-winged Saint Emissary could naturally see that Lin Tian was able to kill the Heavenspan expert so easily because of the ancient corpse's power. Lin Tianling smiled and did not respond. He moved again, controlling the ancient corpse and advancing towards the 12-winged Saint Emissary. Stop him! The 12-winged Saint Emissary shouted and retreated. Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse to kill a Heavenspan Heavenly Master so easily. This made him feel fearful. As soon as he finished speaking, the 9 Heavenspan Heavenly Masters immediately moved. They each used their divine techniques and pressed them towards Lin Tian. For a time, the space rumbled and shook violently, as if it would collapse at any time. Lin Tian sneered as he shook the ancient corpse. Chaotic saint energy was emitted from the corpse, instantly sealing the space within a radius of 1,000 feet. I'll deal with you after I've dealt with them. No one can save you today, he said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, he He controlled the ancient corpse and punched out again. With a loud boom, the void rumbled. The 9 transcending heaven realm, heavenly lords' divine abilities were all shattered at once. Moreover, the power of the punch was still vast and mighty. It shattered the 9 divine abilities and sent them flying, coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. Such a scene caused the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters' expressions to change again. The 12-winged Saint Emissary and the few void sky realm experts who were still alive trembled violently. It was just a punch that was thrown out with pure physical strength, but it actually had such power. It was even more terrifying than before. Activate the artifact. Among the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters, one of them gritted his teeth. A seal flew out from his body, blooming with dazzling light. It was an extremely powerful heavenspan Emperor divine weapon that seemed to be able to suppress everything. At the same time, the other 8 heavenspan heavenly masters also took action. At this time, they all summoned their powerful heavenspan Emperor divine weapons. The 9 heavenspan Emperor divine weapons merged together, and the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters activated them with all their might. The killing aura they exuded was as vast as the ocean, surging and terrifying. Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse. His eyes narrowed, and then he sneered. "Not bad," he said, and directly rushed towards the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters. Insolent, the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters' faces turned cold. The 9 heavenspan heavenly masters' Emperor divine weapons blasted out a vast killing aura together with their divine abilities. The killing power was 10 times stronger than when they only used ordinary divine abilities. It seemed to be able to annihilate everything. However, in the next moment, with a boom, Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and punched out, directly dispersing the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters' Emperor divine weapons. Swoosh! After dispersing the 9 heavenspan heavenly masters' Emperor divine weapons, Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and appeared in front of one of the heavenspan heavenly masters in a single step. He punched the opponent's chest, directly shattering his body, and then snatched the opponent's heavenspan Emperor divine weapon. It was a short dagger, engraved with dense, strange runes, as if it could easily cut through everything. Lin Tian held it, and naturally, he instantly felt that it was extraordinary. It contained very amazing heavenspan saint energy. "Let go!" The other 8 heavenspan heavenly masters shouted coldly. With shock and anger, they attacked at the same time, once again bombarding Lin Tian. Lin Tian snorted. With just a simple punch, he had annihilated the 8 heavenspan heavenly masters' attacks. Then, he shook a wisp of saint energy in the ancient corpse and forcibly erased the spiritual imprint of the other heavenspan heavenly masters in the short dagger. "Hand over your Emperor divine weapons too." He sneered and put away the short dagger. Then, he controlled the ancient corpse and directly raised his hand to suppress the other 8 heavenspan heavenly masters. Chapter 21:33. No one knew exactly how powerful the ancient corpse was. At this time, Lin Tian mobilized the ancient corpse's saint power. 2 beams of light shot out like 2 peerless swords, piercing through the dagger's owner in the blink of an eye. Poof! Blood splattered everywhere. This transcending heaven expert was once again blasted apart. He couldn't withstand such a sharp gaze at all. At the same time, Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse to cover the other 8 heavenly masters. For a moment, the 8 heavenly masters could not withstand the attacks of the ancient corpse. They were all sent flying, each of them coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. It was also at this time that Lin Tian raised his hand again, controlling the ancient corpse to grab the emperor weapons of the 8 heavenly masters. Wang! He mobilized the ancient corpse's saint power and erased the spiritual imprints of the 8 emperor weapons in an instant, then stored them into his body. "Many thanks to all of you," he laughed. In such a short time, he had seized the emperor weapons of the 9 sections. Monarch weapons were priceless treasures in every sect. The 8 heavenly masters steadied themselves, each of them shocked and furious. "Give it back!" It was difficult for many ordinary transcending heaven experts to own an emperor weapon, because they were the heavenly masters of the celestial court and were much stronger than ordinary transcending heaven experts. They all had their own emperor weapons. But now Lin Tian had taken them away. At the same time, the heavenly master who had his dagger taken away reformed his body and pounced at Lin Tian. Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse, smiled coldly, and swung out a palm. This time he had used even more strength. Poof! 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 Blood splattered as the 9 transcending heaven masters were sent flying again. Cracks appeared on their bodies, and blood flowed continuously. At this time, Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse to step forward, appearing in front of one of the heavenly masters in an instant and punched down. With a poof, the heavenly master's body was smashed to pieces. Damn it! His divine soul escaped, and with fear and anger, he quickly retreated, distancing himself from the ancient corpse controlled by Lin Tian. However, Lin Tian's speed was much faster than his, and he took a step forward. Die! Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and punched out again. This time, the power of the punch was even stronger than before. The heavenly master's soul trembled, feeling as if a heavenly river was crashing down on him. He couldn't help but shout, "Stop! Sky-reaching level fighters are also afraid of death, aren't they?" Lin Tianling smiled. The force of his fist did not diminish in the slightest. In the next breath, it landed squarely on this person's spirit body. With a hiss, the man's divine soul was shattered into pieces. In this place, the few void heaven experts who were still alive felt their hearts tremble. How long had it been? Another lord of the celestial court had been killed. The 12-winged saint emissary was also shocked and angry. He couldn't help but roar, "What are you doing? Bring out all your strength. Go all out." Lin Tian tilted his head and glanced at him. With a light flick of his finger, a wave of air vibrated, turning into a ray of light that shot towards the saint emissary. This ray of light was the force generated by the vibrations in the air. It directly pierced through the 12-winged saint emissary, causing blood to splatter everywhere. "Don't be so noisy. Watch quietly from the side, and I'll let you live a little longer." Lin Tian glanced at him from the corner of his eyes. It would be very easy for him to kill this 12-winged saint emissary now. However, he deliberately didn't kill him at this time because he wanted to keep him alive to find out some other things he wanted to know from him. Moreover, he had other plans after this, and these plans also required the saint emissary to be alive. A bloody hole appeared in the 12-winged saint emissary's chest. His face turned pale as he glared at Lin Tian. "Ant! How dare you? Slap!" Lin Tian raised his hand, controlled the ancient corpse, and slapped the saint emissary's face, sending him flying. A few teeth, mixed with blood, fell to the ground. "I told you not to be so noisy," he said. He still controlled the strength of his slap. Otherwise, he could have destroyed the 12-winged divine emissary's body and soul with a single slap while controlling the ancient corpse. That was because the 12-winged divine emissary was only a dominator. "My lord, how dare you?" The 8 heavenly masters who were still alive were shocked and furious. They all rushed toward Lin Tian. Lin Tianling smiled and controlled the ancient corpse to meet them head-on. "I'll send you to hell," he said as he controlled the ancient corpse to throw a punch. The strength he used was much stronger than before. The 8 heavenly masters of the celestial court all used their special abilities and secret techniques to resist with all their might. However, they couldn't stop him at all. Poof! After a few breaths, one of them exploded. His spirit body didn't escape far before it was hit by Lin Tian's punch. His physical body shattered and completely disappeared. Continue. He looked at the other 7 heavenly masters and didn't show any mercy. He controlled the ancient corpse and violently punched them again and again. This space kept crumbling. The ground kept collapsing. "No!" A miserable scream echoed. Soon, another heavenly master was killed, his body and soul destroyed. The remaining 6 heavenly masters all had fear in their eyes. They all moved to the side of the 12-winged saint emissary. "My lord, let's leave first," one of them said. The ancient corpse controlled by Lin Tian was too terrifying. Just its physical strength alone could crush everything. They felt that it was even more frightening than the ancient ancestor-level existences of the celestial court. They couldn't stop it at all. "Leave? You have no room to escape now." Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and walked over. He had already mobilized the saint power within the ancient corpse and completely sealed off the surrounding space. An ordinary heavenly master would never be able to break this seal. He stepped forward and controlled the ancient corpse. His giant hand pressed down on the 6 heavenly masters. The terrifying pressure shook the world. The 6 heavenly masters were shocked and angry. They had no choice but to meet the attack head-on because Lin Tian's ancient corpse had sealed off the surrounding space. Boom! A terrifying collision occurred. The space here was constantly destroyed. The 6 heavenly masters were sent flying again and again. Blood splattered everywhere. Then, miserable screams rang out one after another. Lin Tian did not feel the slightest bit of pressure when facing these sky-level existences while controlling the ancient corpse to fight. This was a completely one-sided battle. He only needed to use the ancient corpse's flesh shell to throw a simple punch, and the attacks and defenses of these people were completely destroyed. In the blink of an eye, more than 100 breaths passed, and another 5 transcending heaven masters were killed by Lin Tian. Only one heaven master remained alive. Looking at Lin Tian, his face was filled with fear, and he couldn't help but stagger backward. Lin Tian smiled. He glanced at the 12-winged saint emissary and the few void sky masters who were still alive. He controlled the ancient corpse and walked towards the last heavenly master. However, in the next moment, his footsteps suddenly stopped and his heart palpitated. Chapter 2134. What's going on? Lin Tian's heart palpitated. He had entered the ancient corpse's body with his spirit and controlled it. He clearly didn't ask the corpse to move a finger, but the corpse moved on its own. This made his spirit feel cold. Immediately, he stopped where he was and carefully examined the inside of the corpse. However, he didn't find any abnormalities. There was no sign of life, and the soul in his sea of consciousness didn't exist at all. Was it my imagination? He muttered to himself. There was no spirit, no sign of life, and no death chi. Such a corpse couldn't move no matter what. He paused in place and sensed every corner of the corpse again. In the end, he still couldn't find any abnormalities, so he stopped thinking about it. He looked at the last transcending heaven master and stepped over. Seeing Lin Tian walk over, the heaven master trembled. "Stop! You're going against the celestial court. Don't tell me you have." "Shut up," Lin Tian said. He instantly appeared in front of the heaven master and punched him. With a puff, the transcending heaven master was directly smashed into pieces, and only his spirit was barely preserved. However, before the other party's spirit could escape, Lin Tian attacked again. Another punch was thrown. Chi! With a soft sound, the heaven master's spirit was shattered along with his body. He was completely destroyed. Heavenly masters, how could this be? The few Void Sky rank experts who were still alive couldn't help but tremble. Lin Tian tilted his head and swept a glance at these people. With a wave of his hand, the surrounding air vibrated and several spatial blades swept out. Puff, puff, puff. Blood splattered everywhere. The heavily injured Void Sky rank experts couldn't resist at all. Their bodies were instantly shattered, and even their spirits were annihilated. For a time, only the 12-winged Saint Envoy of the Celestial Court was left. Upon seeing the 12-winged Sacred Emissary, Lin Tian stepped forward and steered the ancient corpse towards him. Facing Lin Tian's ancient corpse, the 12-winged Saint Envoy was both shocked and furious. His eyes were filled with coldness. "Despicable human, do you dare to fight me with your true body?" "True body?" Lin Tiandao asked. "A few days ago, weren't you chased by my true body like a stray dog?" "You!" The 12-winged Sacred Emissary was speechless and furious. It was also at this moment that Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and appeared in front of him in a single step. The 12-winged emissary couldn't help but take a step back. He shouted, "Stop! I am the god of heaven." Bang! Lin Tian waved his fist, directly interrupting him, causing him to spit out a large mouthful of blood. Of course, he didn't use much strength in this punch. Otherwise, he would have directly smashed the other party to death. You've been slaughtering thousands of creatures, collecting their life essence, and even destroying one universe after another. What exactly is your purpose? He looked at the other party and asked. This was what he wanted to know the most at the moment. It was hard for him to imagine how ambitious the heavenly court was to destroy one universe after another. Blood was gushing out of the 12-winged emissary's mouth. Facing Lin Tian's question, he gritted his teeth and said, "I won't tell you. You worm, you don't have the slap." Lin Tian raised his hand and cut off the other party's words. He directly slapped the other party's face, leaving a clear handprint on the other party's face. You really don't understand the current situation at all. How dare you be so arrogant as a prisoner? Lin Tiandao sneered. Do you think that if you don't tell me, I won't know? Do you think I don't know how to search your mind and soul? As he spoke, he released his divine thought and spread it into the other party's mind. He began to search for what he wanted to know in the other party's mind. The 12-winged emissary trembled. His eyes were filled with fear. He shouted, "Stop, stop! That's a taboo. There is a restrictive seal protecting it. I can't say it, and you can't touch it. Otherwise, it will explode, and we will all die." When Lin Tian heard this, he was shocked. What he wanted to know was considered a taboo in the celestial court. There was a restrictive seal in the 12-winged emissary's mind, something like the God-shattering pattern. Some ancient inheritances would plant the God-shattering pattern in the minds of disciples who cultivated the important ancient scriptures or knew the core information in order to protect their clan's important ancient scriptures or core information from leaking. Once the person with the God-shattering pattern wanted to leak the important ancient scriptures or core information, or if someone tried to search his soul, the God-shattering pattern would explode. The more powerful the God-shattering pattern was, the more terrifying its power would be after it exploded. Lin Tian's heart froze. The restrictive seal that the 12-winged emissary spoke of was something like the God-shattering pattern. Moreover, it should have been imprinted by a very powerful person. Otherwise, the 12-winged emissary would not be so terrified. My current body is comparable to the ancient ancestors of the celestial court. The explosion of your restrictive seal might not be able to threaten me. He looked at the other party and probed. Don't do anything rash," the 12-winged emissary said anxiously. When he heard Lin Tian's words, the fear on his face became even more intense. This is an imprint of my clan's absolute saint. Even if someone 1,000 times stronger than the ancient ancestors touched it, their body and soul would be destroyed instantly. When Lin Tian heard this, his heart froze again. Someone 1,000 times stronger than the ancient ancestors of the celestial court would die instantly? Was the restrictive seal in this person's mind that terrifying? Then, how terrifying was the person who had imprinted such a restrictive seal? His eyes turned cold, and the divine thought that had entered the emissary's mind immediately moved. However, this was not the time to search for the reason why the celestial court had massacred thousands of creatures to collect life essence and destroy universes. This was because, after hearing the 12-winged emissary's words, he was more or less afraid. If what the emissary said was true, then he would be courting death if he rashly tried to investigate such matters. At this time, he began to search for the strength of the other party's clan. He believed that such matters were definitely not taboo. Very quickly, a few dozen breaths passed. His eyes were filled with shock, and he could not help but gasp. After searching the emissary's mind, he had a rough idea of the strength of this clan. There were not many people in this clan, but their bloodline was very special. Every one of them was comparable to an ordinary king body. The more powerful they were, the more wings they had. Among them, 12 wings were equivalent to the ruler realm, 14 wings to the void sky realm, 16 wings to the heaven ascension realm, 18 wings to the Celestial Court Ancient Ancestor, and 36 wings to the Celestial Court Ancient Ancestor, who was 10,000 times stronger than the ancient ancestors of the Celestial Court. Above them, there were even 48 wings and the strongest 72 wings. He was shocked. Chapter 21:35. After searching the 12-winged saint's sea of consciousness, Lin Tian was truly shocked. The other party's race was simply too terrifying. Why? Are you scared now? The 12-winged saint naturally knew that Lin Tian had found the strength of his race in his sea of consciousness. Seeing Lin Tian's shocked expression, he thought that Lin Tian was scared. He couldn't help but sneer and say, "Now let me go obediently. Otherwise, the one waiting for you will be me." Slap. Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped him directly. The 12-winged saint was instantly shocked and furious. "You!" Lin Tian actually slapped him again. "What are you talking about? I already warned you a long time ago. A prisoner should have the awareness of a prisoner. How dare you threaten me?" Lin Tian looked at him, raised his hand, and slapped him again. The other party's race was terrifying, but so what? He was never afraid of strong enemies. No matter how terrifying the enemy was, they were still enemies. These people were meant to be slaughtered, not feared or surrendered. The 12-winged saint's mouth was full of blood. He glared at Lin Tian angrily, but at this time, he didn't dare to threaten him anymore. "That's more like it," Lin Tian sneered. Then, he controlled the ancient corpse and imprisoned the 12-winged saint. He walked toward the palace in this place. The interior of the palace was very luxurious. He didn't care about it and went straight to the center of the palace. There was a stone room here. He pushed open the stone room and entered. At a glance, he saw 2 altars in the middle of the stone room. One of the altars had a jade bottle on it. The aura of life around it was extremely strong, as if there was a great world formed by the aura of life inside. As for the other altar, there was a cold awl in the center. It was made of an unknown material. It was covered with extremely mysterious ancient runes. Most of them were inserted into the altar. Looking at the jade bottle and the cold awl, Lin Tian's eyes immediately narrowed. A container for collecting life essence. A forbidden weapon that can destroy a great world. Outside the palace, when he was searching the sea of consciousness of the 12-winged sacred emissary, he had also searched for the artifacts of these 2 sections. He already had detailed information about them, which was why he had come here directly. He looked at the pristine jade bottle. From the outside, he could already sense how terrifying the life essence chi inside was. It was boundless, and it was still rapidly increasing. There was constantly new life essence chi fusing into it. He naturally knew the reason. The vessel was placed here to absorb the life essence of the creatures that had just died in this world. Now, the cultivators of the Celestial Court were wantonly massacring various regions in this world. Living creatures were constantly dying, so the life essence was naturally flowing towards this place. As he looked at the pristine jade bottle and thought about these matters, a cold glint involuntarily flashed in his eyes. In order to gather the life essence of all living beings, they had wantonly slaughtered all living beings. Such actions were simply inhumane. Then he shifted his gaze and looked at the cold awl. He took a few steps forward to look at it, and his soul couldn't help but tremble slightly. "It is indeed terrifying," he muttered to himself. At this moment, just by looking at the cold awl, he felt as if a destructive storm was brewing within it. It was as if it was going to pounce on him and annihilate him directly. This feeling was extremely horrifying, and it made him feel a rare sense of horror. "It's a pity that I can't take it down." From the information obtained from the sea of consciousness of the 12-winged sacred emissary, this Zhonghan all had completely integrated into this extremely large world. With his current cultivation, it was impossible for him to take it out, even if he was a heavenly master. Looking at the cold awl, he shook his head. Then, his gaze fell on the pristine jade bottle again. After looking at it for a few breaths, he glanced at the 12-winged sacred emissary who was imprisoned by him and said, "Give the order." Have all the cultivators of the celestial court who are wantonly in this large world rush back here. The 12-winged sacred emissary gritted his teeth. Have all of them come back? What do you want to do? He did not know the purpose of Lin Tian's actions, but he was 100% sure that Lin Tian was definitely brewing something bad for the celestial court. Nothing much. Gather them all together, and then kill them all. Lin Tian was very calm. The 12-winged sacred emissary had a very special status in the celestial court. As long as he gave the order, the cultivators of the celestial court in this large world would definitely not disobey. They would definitely rush back here as soon as possible. At that time, he would attack mercilessly. He would control the ancient corpses and wipe out all the cultivators of the celestial court who had returned here. Actually, there was no real benefit to him doing this. However, the celestial court was obviously his enemy. Doing this could deal a blow to the celestial court. Moreover, it was not difficult in itself. He could easily use the 12-winged sacred emissary to control the ancient corpses. Since that was the case, why not do it? What did you say? The 12-winged sacred emissary's expression changed. Impossible. I would never do that. Slap. Lin Tian raised his hand and slapped him again. As I said, a prisoner should have the awareness of a prisoner. You have no room to bargain now. Lin Tian spoke. He stared at the other party and said, obediently do as I say, and I'll let you live after that. Otherwise, I'll crush you right now. The 12-winged sacred emissary's expression changed immediately. Facing Lin Tian's threat, he could not help but tremble. You, Clang? Lin Tian's mind moved, and the heaven-level dagger that he had snatched previously appeared in his hand. He intertwined his heaven-level aura and pressed it directly on the 12-winged sacred emissary's neck. I don't have much patience. Are you going to do it or not? He held the dagger and exerted a little force. Instantly, a cut appeared on the 12-winged sacred emissary's neck. Bright red blood immediately gushed out. The 12-winged sacred emissary could not help but tremble. After a moment of panic, he said, Stop! I will do it! I will do it! Under the threat of death, the 12-winged sacred emissary had no choice but to submit. He immediately used a special method. After a few seconds, he sent an order to this great world. The order included his voice and divine sense imprint, asking all the cultivators of the celestial court to immediately rush back to this place. This order will not be received immediately. It will take more than 2 hours for people to rush back here. Looking at Lin Tian, the 12-winged sacred emissary of the Celestial Protector clan said, Can you let me go now? Let you go? Lin Tian looked at him. Why? The 12-winged sacred emissary was shocked and said angrily, You promised just now that as long as I do as you say, you will let me live. Hearing this, Lin Tian could not help but laugh. You believe the words of your enemy? The 12-winged sacred emissary trembled and became even more shocked and angry. You dare to lie? Shut up. You can be on your way. Lin Tiandao interrupted the other party's next words and directly smacked him into oblivion with a single palm strike. For a moment, this place became silent. Lin Tian did not care. Killing the 12-winged sacred emissary was like cutting a blade of grass. His gaze moved and landed on the pristine jade bottle. The pristine jade bottle was only a container for collecting life essence. There were no special restrictions on it. He directly raised his hand and poured out his soul power. He easily took the bottle from the altar and scanned it with his divine sense. Then, he was immediately shocked and could not help but gasp. The space in the pristine jade bottle was very big. It was as if it could hold an extremely great world. At this moment, the life essence inside was so vast that it had condensed into a substantial light mist. If I cultivate with this life essence, I might be able to step into the sovereign realm in an extremely short time. Chapter 2136. The pristine jade bottle looked very small, but the space inside was very vast. The life essence contained in it was so dense that Lin Tian was shocked. It was the first time he had seen such dense life essence since he started cultivating. Kill all the cultivators from the celestial court who came here, then leave this world and find a hidden place to refine it. He muttered to himself. Although he was shocked by how dense the life essence in the pristine jade bottle was, he was not surprised. After all, the celestial court had slaughtered countless creatures since they entered this world. After these creatures died, their life essence was absorbed into the pristine jade bottle. It was very normal for it to have such a capacity. Immediately, he put away the pristine jade bottle, and then his spiritual soul walked out of the ancient corpse. This ancient corpse was very terrifying. The pressure inside was too great. His spiritual soul had been under great pressure since he entered it, and could not hold on for long. At this time, taking advantage of the fact that the cultivators from the celestial court still had about 2 hours before they arrived, he temporarily let his spiritual soul rest. His spiritual soul stood beside the ancient corpse and stared at it seriously. At this time, he remembered that the ancient corpse suddenly moved on its own. It must be an illusion. Don't make a mistake and suddenly turn into a corpse. He did not know how strong this ancient corpse was when it was alive. If it suddenly turned into a corpse, he would be in trouble. In the blink of an eye, he would be swallowed up, and not even a bone would be left. Thinking of this, his spiritual soul stood aside and activated the Heavenly One Soul mantra alone. This ancient scripture contained endless formations, and at the same time, it was also a saint art for tempering the soul. It was very effective for strengthening the spiritual soul. As he activated the Heavenly One Soul mantra, his spiritual soul shone, and his spiritual power surged, becoming stronger and stronger. Soon, more than 2 hours passed. A light flashed in his eyes as he looked outside the palace. "They're here," he sneered. At this time, he felt the pressure of the heavenly transcendence realm approaching. There were exactly 20 of them, no more and no less. He could guess that these were the 20 heavenly masters who had entered this world to fight in various areas. These people's cultivation was very strong, and they were obviously many times faster than the other heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals. Immediately, his spiritual soul moved and directly entered the ancient corpse. "My lord, where are you? What happened here?" The 20 heaven lords rushed into the palace one after another, their voices filled with panic. When they returned to this place, they saw that the palace had been damaged from the outside. Moreover, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals who had been guarding outside were nowhere to be seen. Large amounts of blood had fallen to the ground, causing their hearts to beat wildly. As they spoke, they headed towards the stone room in the depths of the palace. Clearly, they knew that the jade bottle that could absorb life essence and the forbidden artifact that could destroy this world were in there. In the blink of an eye, the 20 heaven masters arrived at the stone chamber. Then, the 20 people all saw Lin Tian inside, and all of them were moved, their expressions changing greatly. Who is it? These people had heard about Lin Tian from the 12-winged emissary and knew what Lin Tian looked like. However, at this moment, Lin Tian's spirit had entered the ancient corpse. All they could see was the ancient corpse. Naturally, they did not know who was standing in front of them. Moreover, these people saw that the pristine jade bottle had disappeared, and they couldn't find the 12-winged saint emissary either. Their faces turned even colder. "Where is that lord? Where is the pristine jade bottle? Did you take it?" The 20 heaven masters stared at the ancient corpse controlled by Lin Tian, their eyes filled with killing intent. Their immortal ascension realm auras sealed off the surroundings. Then, one of them directly raised his hand and pressed down on Lin Tian. Lin Tian sneered and did not say anything unnecessary. He controlled the ancient corpse to take a step forward and threw a punch forward. The violent punch pierced through the palace, and wave after wave of terrifying fist power swept out. With a bang, the heaven master who attacked was sent flying. While he was still in the air, he coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. "You!" The heaven master who attacked stabilized himself in the distance, a look of shock on his face. He didn't hold back when he attacked just now, but now he was sent flying with a single punch. Moreover, he was seriously injured. The power of that punch made his heart tremble. At the same time, the other 19 heaven masters were also shocked by the scene before them. There's not a trace of life. This isn't a living person. Someone is controlling this corpse. Just who are you? These heaven masters were all extraordinary people, so their eyesight was naturally extraordinary. At this moment, they saw many things. Who am I? Lin Tian smiled and said, didn't that winged one give you guys an order to seal off this world, and then have you guys search the entire world for me? Tell me, who am I? At this time, he didn't mind revealing his identity. It wasn't a big deal, and it wouldn't affect him in any way. Hearing his words, the 20 heaven masters were all shocked. It's you, the reincarnation body. How dare you? Barging into this place. Where is that lord? Where is he? The 20 heaven masters shouted. Naturally, I killed him, Lin Tian casually said. He wanted to see how these heaven masters would react when they learned that the 12-winged holy emissary had been killed. What? You dare to kill that person? Are you crazy? Damn it, you! How dare you? The 20 heaven masters were shocked to the extreme. At the same time, their eyes were filled with horror. They knew very well how terrifying the tribe behind the 12-winged holy emissary was. The 12-winged holy emissary was their emissary to destroy this world, and they were his subordinates. But now, the 12-winged holy emissary had been killed. If that tribe found out about this, none of them would be able to escape responsibility. They would all be punished. Even if they didn't die, they would lose a layer of skin. Bastard. At this moment, the 20 heaven masters didn't even think about where the other 10 heaven masters had gone, nor did they care about the pristine jade bottle. They were all extremely shocked and furious. All of them stared at Lin Tian and attacked together, crazily attacking Lin Tian. Lin Tianling smiled. You all are really afraid of that tribe. Your expressions are worth admiring. As he finished speaking, he controlled the ancient corpse and swung his fist without holding back. Dong! He had used a significant amount of strength in this punch. The pure physical strength had shattered all the techniques of the 20 heaven lords, and even the palace itself had collapsed along with it. The stone room where the forbidden frost all was placed also collapsed. However, he wasn't worried that the forbidden artifact would explode. From the 12-winged holy emissary's sea of consciousness, he knew that it required at least 10 Heaven Ascension stage experts to cast the forbidden artifact. It would take at least 100 breaths to activate it. Other methods wouldn't be able to cause it to react at all. Chapter 21:37. The palace collapsed. At the same time, blood splattered in the air. It was all the blood of the sky-level powerhouses. The 20 sky-level powerhouses of the Celestial Court were all sent flying. They were all in a sorry state. These people stared at Lin Tian in shock and anger. With just a single punch, all the divine spells they had cast were destroyed, and all of them suffered heavy injuries. Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and walked out from the middle of the ruined palace. He looked at the 20 Celestial Court powerhouses with a calm expression. Now, with the ancient corpse as a weapon, the sky-level powerhouses who were originally difficult for him to deal with at this stage were as weak as ants. Boom! Looking at the 20 Celestial Court powerhouses, he waved his fist again and enveloped all 20 of them. Moreover, he vibrated his spiritual soul and used some of the saint power in the ancient corpse. Immediately, the sky trembled. The 20 sky-level powerhouses resisted with all their might, but they could not resist Lin Tian, who was controlling the ancient corpse. They were sent flying again and again. Summon the Emperor weapons! Someone shouted. The 20 sky-level powerhouses took out their Emperor weapons one after another. Each Emperor weapon was extraordinary. However, it was still useless. Lin Tian controlled the ancient corpse and slapped out. Suddenly, the sky and earth were turned upside down, and everything was shattered. The Emperor weapons of the 20 powerhouses were taken out one after another, and he put them all away. Thanks. Looking at the 20 powerhouses, he sneered. In the blink of an eye, he had obtained another 20 Emperor weapons. Their value was shocking. Then, he controlled the ancient corpse and attacked again. This time, it was even more ruthless. Puff! Blood splattered. One of the sky-level powerhouses was hit by a destructive blow, and his body and soul were destroyed. Lin Tian sneered and controlled the ancient corpse to attack the other 19 Heaven Masters. Boom! He only threw out a simple punch, but the pure strength of his body was like the weight of the sky. The destructive aura was shocking. On this day, in this place, it was a complete disaster for the Heaven Masters of the Celestial Court. The ancient corpse controlled by Lin Tian was too strong. These beings, who were usually high and mighty, could not resist at all in the face of the ancient corpse. No! Ah! Screams echoed and blood splattered. Lin Tian attacked mercilessly, controlling the ancient corpse and killing the sky-level Heaven Masters one after another. In just a quarter of an hour, the 20 Heaven Masters of the Celestial Court who rushed to this place were all killed by him. It was also at this time that the space in the distance trembled, and the other experts of the Heavenly Court who had entered this extreme world rushed back here. This place? Who are you? At this time, the cultivators of the Celestial Court who rushed to this place were extremely large. The strongest among them was at the Void Sky rank. Seeing the temporary camp of the Celestial Court turned into ruins, with blood everywhere, and only the ancient corpse controlled by Lin Tian standing there, they all asked coldly. Lin Tian did not waste time talking nonsense with these people. He used his divine soul to operate the weapon control technique and activated the dozens of sky-level artifacts he had seized before. He directly started a merciless slaughter of the cultivators of the Celestial Court who had returned to this place. "You-ah!" Cries of agony reverberated in the air. Lin Tian had summoned a piercing heaven-grade artifact, and he had even infused a strand of the ancient corpse's saint energy into it. How could these void sky-grade cultivators possibly withstand such an attack? Immediately, blood mist exploded one after another. No one could withstand the next blow, and they all died instantly. You dare to go against the Celestial Court? You will not have a good ending. Ah! These cultivators of the Celestial Court were shocked, angry, and frightened, but there was nothing they could do. Under the attack of the dozens of sky-level artifacts controlled by Lin Tian, they exploded one after another. In the distance, whooshing sounds could be heard again. The other celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the Celestial Court who had entered this celestial world had rushed back one after another. Seeing the scene in front of them and Lin Tian's massacre, they were all shocked. Lin Tianji sneered. He controlled the Emperor weapons to attack mercilessly. Anyone who returned to this place was immediately locked on by his divine sense. The dozens of Emperor weapons slashed out dense killing lights, killing the Celestial Court cultivators one after another. Ah! Screams echoed in this place, one after another. On this day, he waited here with the ancient corpse, killing more and more Celestial Court cultivators. The ground here was dyed red with blood, and it was a ghastly sight. In the process, of course, not all the Celestial Court cultivators who returned here were killed by him. This was because some of the celestial soldiers and celestial generals saw the situation here from afar and fled in fear. He could not stop all of them. Thus, after an unknown period of time, there were gradually no more Celestial Court cultivators returning here. He stopped driving the ancient corpse. It's about time. He did not know how many celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the Celestial Court he had killed while waiting here. It was certain that he had killed all the Celestial Court cultivators who had entered this extreme world above the Saint Venerable level. The rest were Saint Kings and cultivators below the Saint King level. These cultivators of the Celestial Court, who were still alive, all knew about the changes in this place. Some of them had rushed back here to witness the changes with their own eyes and successfully escaped. Others had learned from the cultivators of the Celestial Court that they had successfully escaped, that there would be no more celestial soldiers and celestial generals rushing back here. Naturally, he would not go to this world to kill these people. There was no need for that. He stood where he was and glanced at the center of the collapsed palace. There, the forbidden weapon that could destroy this extreme world still existed. It's time to leave, he muttered to himself. He did not have the ability to deal with the forbidden weapon now, so he could only leave it be. At this time, He was ready to leave this world and find a secluded place to refine the life essence in the jade bottle. He would improve his cultivation and then find the little taichu and the white tiger. The reason why he did not refine the life essence in the jade bottle in this extreme world was because the changes in this place would soon spread to the ears of other cultivators of the celestial court. After that, there might be ancient ancestor-level cultivators of the celestial court who would rush to this world. If he continued to stay in this world, it would not be safe. At this moment, he drove the ancient corpse and directly blasted open the world barrier of this extreme world with a punch. He then stepped out. After leaving this extreme world, he appeared in the starry sky of this universe. He concealed his aura and walked through the starry sky. Soon after, he found an abandoned barren planet and directly stepped into it. He entered a barren mountain on this abandoned planet. Now, the celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court were wanton in various areas of this universe. They killed thousands of creatures and then destroyed many extreme worlds. Under such circumstances, some abandoned barren planets were the safest. This was because there was no need for him to come to these extreme worlds for the time being. Generally, he would first go to the extreme worlds that were densely populated. He entered this barren mountain, and his spirit returned to his body. He began to dig a mountain cave and set up layers of ceiling formations. Then he took out the jade bottle. Begin! Chapter 2138. The essence of life within the jade bottle was extremely dense, as if it was a great world formed from the essence of life. It was very intimidating. Lin Tian channeled the Sun Heart Sutra and placed the jade bottle in front of him. He drew out the life essence chi from the bottle, causing his body to be completely surrounded by the life essence chi. Using this ancient sutra to refine the thick life essence chi, his essence chi and soul quickly increased. Outside his body, the divine radiance gradually became brighter and brighter, and his cultivation rose strand by strand. At the same time, being surrounded by the dense essence of life and drowning his body, he felt that his divine senses had undergone some kind of qualitative change. They became extremely sharp, and he could clearly sense everything around him. He could even hear the sounds of ants crawling thousands of kilometers away. On the other hand, at this moment, he felt that he could instantly understand some of the techniques and spells that he usually found difficult to comprehend. It was as if a supreme expert was enlightening him. This caused him to be moved. When the thick life essence submerged his body, there was actually still such an effect. Afterwards, he immediately stopped cultivating with the essence of life. Light intertwined in his eyes. Let's create a technique first. Back when he had stepped into the realm of Saint Ruler, he had begun to create an ancient sutra that suited him. However, the process was too difficult, and he had never created an ancient sutra. He had only comprehended the Tai Chi divine domain. At this moment, being surrounded by the dense essence of life, his perception and comprehension had skyrocketed, becoming several hundred times stronger than usual. At this moment, he decided to use the dense essence of life to create a technique first. As for increasing his cultivation, he felt that there was no need to rush it for now. Right now, to him, creating a core ancient sutra that belonged to him was more important than increasing his cultivation. Immediately, within the dense essence of life, he began to meditate and comprehend all the ancient sutras and secret techniques that he had cultivated. He integrated all the ancient sutras and divine techniques, gaining a deeper understanding. Then he began to experiment with the new circulation of Saint Force. Buzz! In the midst of this rich life essence, his perception had improved tremendously. Inspiration was flowing in endlessly. Previously, it was difficult for him to think of a way to circulate the saint energy, but at this moment, one after another, he began to experiment. He tried to circulate the saint energy in his body in various ways that he could think of. He memorized the feeling brought by the saint energy every time he used it in his heart. Then, he began to reshape and refine the various ways to circulate the saint energy. Time flew by like the sand between one's fingers. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. On this day, he coughed up blood. In the process of creating the technique, just like before, he suffered a bit of backlash. However, the light in his eyes was much brighter than before. Although he was coughing up blood at this time, a new set of Saint energy circulation methods that belonged to him was faintly appearing in his mind. Although it was still a little vague, it made his inspiration stronger. He felt that he would succeed soon. Continue. Immediately, he drew out more life essence to surround himself as he continued to experiment with the operation of the saint power. During this process, it seemed to have temporarily increased his perception. The life essence in the pristine jade bottle was also being consumed rapidly. Just like that, time continued to pass. 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days, 1 month. A month had passed, and the life essence was being consumed rapidly. At this time, more than half of the rich life essence in the pristine jade bottle had been consumed. It was also at this time that a special saint light suddenly appeared outside of Lin Tian's body. It was intertwined with 9 different colors. It was crystal clear, vast, and distant. As the 9-colored saint light appeared, the thin spiritual chi of heaven and earth around him quickly surged toward him. Then, as the 9-colored saint light outside of his body gradually became thicker, the grand ceiling formation that he had set up in this place was completely ineffective. It could not isolate his aura, causing the entire ancient star to tremble slightly. All the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the entire star seemed to have a mind of its own as it rushed toward this place and drowned him in an instant. Even the starry sky outside of this ancient star was trembling. The starry sky origin energy turned into silver starlight and directly broke through the star barrier outside the ancient star, entering the ancient star. In the blink of an eye, it reached the place where he was cultivating in seclusion and drowned him together with the spiritual chi of the ancient star. After a few breaths, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and the other stars around this ancient star in the starry sky also rushed toward this place. This is, in the starry sky, a group of celestial soldiers and celestial generals from the celestial court had just slaughtered a few stars. When they passed by this star, they were immediately shocked when they saw this scene. The starry sky, origin energy, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the nearby stars were swept into a star in this area. This was very unusual. "Let's go and take a look," the leader said. He was an expert at the peak of the saint venerable level. His gaze fell on the ancient star where Lin Tian was cultivating in seclusion. Immediately, the group of celestial soldiers and celestial generals stepped forward and directly entered the star. Following the direction of the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and the starry sky origin energy, they quickly arrived at the place where Lin Tian was cultivating in seclusion. Then they saw Lin Tian at a glance. Nine-colored saint light. Seeing Lin Tian in seclusion, the group of celestial soldiers and celestial generals all changed their expressions at the same time. Even the saint venerable in the lead was no exception. They had cultivated for so long, but this was the first time they had seen someone who could emit 9-colored saint light. It made them instinctively feel a sense of horror. My lord, this person must not be left alive," a quasi-saint celestial soldier said, his voice involuntarily trembling. Yes, he is in seclusion now. Take advantage of this opportunity to kill him." Beside him, another quasi-saint also spoke. His voice did not tremble, but his face had unknowingly turned pale. At this time, there was clearly no terrifying pressure outside Lin Tian's body, making people feel no threat or pressure. However, looking at Lin Tian at such a close distance, these celestial soldiers and celestial generals felt their souls tremble for no reason. It was as if they were facing the source of destruction at this time. That saint venerable level expert also unknowingly turned pale at this time. In fact, his face was even paler than that of the ordinary quasi-saints beside him, as if he felt an even more intense sense of horror. Kill! Immediately, this person's lips trembled as he spat out these 2 words. He directly stepped forward and headed toward Lin Tiansha, who was in seclusion. At the same time, The other quasi-saints on the side attacked together. All of them unleashed powerful divine techniques to attack Lin Tian. Chapter 2139. Killing intent surged towards Lin Tian like an ocean. Over a dozen celestial soldiers, including the peak Saint Venerable, used their most powerful techniques at this moment. They appeared before Lin Tian in the blink of an eye and attacked Lin Tian together. Lin Tian sat with his legs crossed, immersed in creating his technique. However, he was still able to sense what was happening in the outside world. At this moment, he sensed that someone was attacking him, so he opened his eyes slightly. His eyes seemed extremely deep at this moment, as if he was an ancient fossil that had lived for countless years. The nine-colored radiance around him leaped slightly as he opened his eyes. In the next moment, the dozen or so heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals that were charging towards him stopped in their tracks. The divine killing techniques that they had unleashed were annihilated along with the nine-colored holy radiance that danced around his body. Then, the luster of life in the eyes of the dozen or so heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals quickly faded away. From beginning to end, the celestial soldiers, including the peak Saint Venerable, did not even manage to cry out. Lin Tian's eyes deepened even more. He did not care about this at all, closing his eyes again. The nine-colored radiance leaped around him, gradually becoming even more resplendent. At the same time, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in this ancient star, the starry sky, origin energy in the starry sky, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and other stars around this ancient star immediately surged towards him at an even faster speed, causing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and the starry sky, origin energy around him to become more and more intense. Just like that, another month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, the essence of life in the jade bottle had been completely used up. The nine-colored radiance around Lin Tian had become even more resplendent, profound, and distant, as if it had taken over all possibilities. Afterwards, on this day as well, Lin Tian opened his eyes at noon. There was a nine-colored luster in his eyes. Around him, the spiritual chi of the world surged as the cosmic origin energy interweaved, surrounding him as if it was worshipping him. His eyes were even more profound than a month ago, but they gradually returned to normal as he stood up from where he was. As he stood up, the spiritual chi of the world and the cosmic origin energy revolved around him, forming vortexes of spiritual chi and cosmic origin energy. They seemed to be able to devour everything. The nine-colored radiance around him was like the source light of the world. I did it! A deep light flashed through his eyes. There was a hint of joy in it as he could not help but clench his fists. In these 2 months, with the help of the rich life essence in the pristine jade bottle, his comprehension ability had increased by several hundred times. After countless experiments, he finally created a new way of operating the saint energy. This new method of circulating his saint energy was a new ancient scripture. It was an ancient scripture that belonged to him and was completely compatible with his life origin. Now, as the saint energy circulated in his body according to this new ancient scripture, he could clearly feel the changes in his body. Compared to when he circulated the Sun Heart Sutra and other ancient scriptures, his divine sense had become sharper, and the speed at which he absorbed the spiritual chi of the world was at least 10 times faster. His life origin seemed to have been unsealed once again, becoming incomparably sparkling and translucent. His potential seemed to have been completely unleashed, and his battle strength was clearly much stronger than when he circulated the other ancient scriptures. Moreover, with the circulation of this ancient scripture and the reincarnation forging spirit technique, his battle strength had increased by 20 times. 20 times compared to 10 times. Although it was only a difference of 2 times in terms of numbers, it was a qualitative change. Now, he had a feeling that with the help of this new ancient scripture, with his current second heavenly layer, holy venerate cultivation, he could even fight against experts who had just stepped into the Dominator realm. Moreover, he could even defeat them. In addition, With the circulation of this new ancient scripture that was compatible with his life origin had become even brighter, as if a protective layer had formed naturally. It gave him a very clear feeling. Even if he did not conceal his life origin, ordinary people would not be able to see through his physique. Only those whose cultivation was much higher than his could see that he had the reincarnation imperial physique at a glance. Very good. He raised his hand, and 9-colored saint lights swirled around him, making him extremely satisfied. He could feel that the saint light contained a powerful force that could shatter everything in the world. It even seemed to be able to affect the surrounding space. It was extremely tyrannical. Around him, the spiritual chi of the world and the starry sky origin continued to revolve around him. Moreover, even more spiritual chi of the world and the starry sky origin were converging towards him. Since it's compatible with my life origin, I'll call it the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. He was actually not good at naming things, so he would just make it simple and direct. Since this ancient scripture was compatible with his reincarnation origin, just like the reincarnation forging spiritual art and the reincarnation calamity pass song, only he could unleash the ancient scripture's power to the limit. Then he would call it the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. As soon as he finished speaking, the circulation of the Samsara Heart Sutra sped up. The surging spiritual chi of the world and the origin energy of the stars immediately surged into his body like a vast ocean, causing the 9-colored radiance around him to become even more resplendent. The essence, chi, and soul he radiated also became much stronger in an instant. Then, under his control, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth in the ancient star, the origin energy in the starry sky, and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and other ancient stars around the ancient star stopped surging toward him and calmed down. He stood there with a faint light intertwined in his eyes. He paused, took a simple step, and instantly appeared in the starry sky. In the starry sky, the silver light intertwined, deep and beautiful. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra circulated in his body, replacing the Heart Sutra of the sun. He activated his divine consciousness. Under the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, the power of his divine consciousness was much stronger than before. In an instant, he sensed the situation in the nearby stars, as well as the situation in the many macro worlds above the starry sky. Then he took a simple step and instantly disappeared. The next moment, he appeared in a new world. This was a macro world, much vaster than the starry sky. It was comparable in size to the spell realm in the primordial universe. Kill. Leave no one alive. In this macro world, shouts of killing shook the heavens. Many celestial soldiers and celestial generals of the celestial court wantonly slaughtered any living being they saw. Screams reverberated in every corner of this macro world. In this macro world, living beings were killed one after another. It was difficult to stop the army of the celestial court. Lin Tian appeared in this macro world. There was a group of celestial soldiers and celestial generals slaughtering the living beings in this area. Seeing him appear, one of them immediately rushed over. It was a divine emperor expert with a divine emperor-level precious weapon. However, this person had just arrived in front of Lin Tian when his figure stopped, after which he directly turned into ashes. Due to his killing intent, it caused the Reincarnation Heart Sutra to automatically vibrate and affect the surrounding space. His body and soul were directly destroyed. Who is it? How dare you kill a member of the celestial court? You're courting death. Chapter 2140. When the celestial soldiers and generals of the celestial court slaughtered other creatures, they thought it was right and proper. However, when they were killed, they felt that the attacker was too bold. At this time, a dozen celestial soldiers and generals rushed toward Lin Tian. Because their cultivation was lower than Lin Tian's, after Lin Tian created the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, it was difficult for them to see through Lin Tian's physique. They all carried cold killing intent. Facing these people, Lin Tian's expression did not change at all. He moved his eyes to the center of this world. It was also at this time that a dozen celestial soldiers and generals approached him, their killing intent pressing down on him. However, like the previous Divine Emperor-level celestial soldier, these people rushed toward Lin Tian with killing intent, but they stopped in an instant. All the divine light they released was annihilated, and then they disintegrated on their own. In the blink of an eye, they were all destroyed. This is what's going on? He didn't do anything just now. In this area, a group of celestial soldiers and generals saw this scene. Their eyes fell on Lin Tian, and all of them changed color. Even the practitioners of the black-yellow universe in this area, who were originally frightened by the celestial soldiers and generals of the celestial court, were shocked to see this scene at this time. Lin Tian did not react from beginning to end. He looked at the center of this world. Because his current position was not far from the center of this world, with his current tyrannical divine thoughts, he could naturally sense that there was a celestial court war palace in that place. There was only one Dominator-level expert, and the others were dozens of Saint Venerable-level and Saint King-level auras. Dominator-level. This is the strongest battle force that the celestial court has sent into this world. It's a good opportunity to test the new ancient scripture. This large world was only similar in size to the spell dimension in the primordial universe, and it was far from being able to compare to the world he resided in before. A sovereign rank expert was sufficient to easily destroy a large world like this. So, he determined that the sovereign rank expert was the strongest combat force that the heavenly court had sent to destroy this world, and there wouldn't be any other stronger experts. Moreover, he spread out his divine thoughts and did not feel a stronger aura in the celestial court war palace in this world. With that, he stepped forward and disappeared. At the same time, a large number of 9-colored sword lights appeared and attacked indiscriminately. All the celestial soldiers and generals in this area were all killed in the blink of an eye. We're saved. In this area, the practitioners of the black-yellow universe who had been slaughtered by the celestial soldiers and generals did not see Lin Tian take action, but they all knew that Lin Tian had killed those celestial soldiers and generals. First, they heaved a long sigh of relief, and then they were all shocked. In the face of such a group of celestial soldiers and generals, it was difficult for them to resist and could only be killed. But now, Lin Tian had appeared. They did not see Lin Tian make any attack movements, but those powerful celestial soldiers and generals were all killed in the blink of an eye. Thank you, Senior. Some people bowed to the place where Lin Tian had been standing in the distance with deep respect and gratitude. They thought that Lin Tian must be a super antique living fossil who had cultivated for countless years. Otherwise, how could he be so strong? In the center of this macro world, surrounded by mountains, stood a war palace. It was a temporary war palace that the celestial court had set up after entering this macro world. Near the battle palace, dozens of Saint King-level heavenly generals were guarding the surroundings. However, their expressions were very casual. This was because, in their understanding, even an ordinary quasi-saint would be able to sweep through this kind of ordinary world. No one could stop them. In such a great world, they had set up a battle palace here. There were dozens of Saint Kings, dozens of Saint Venerables, and a sovereign realm elite. Who in this world could shake this place? Who would dare to behave atrociously here? The Celestial Masters are really making a fuss over nothing. They actually sent so many of us here to destroy such an ordinary world. Exactly. That's true, but it's not a big deal. On the contrary, it's just right. We can relax a little. These Saint Kings were chatting casually. At this moment, more than 100 feet away from the war palace, Lin Tian's figure appeared silently. After leaving the previous area, he came to this place. He took a simple step and walked toward the Celestial Court's war palace. He did not conceal his aura, so naturally, he was immediately discovered by the group of Saint Kings outside the war palace. Someone dares to come here? Just kill him. These saints spoke. They did not care about Lin Tian at all. One of them casually threw a beam of killing light at him. The killing light was swift and fierce. It pierced through the void and came close to Lin Tian in the blink of an eye. Then, with a whoosh, the killing light was directly shattered. Lin Tian's footsteps did not change. He just looked at the war palace and continued to walk toward it. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra had just been formed and was not yet perfect. It needed to be polished. Under such circumstances, he needed a high-level battle. This war palace had the aura of a sovereign realm expert. This level of cultivator was the most suitable for him to polish the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. He had come for that sovereign. He blocked it? He's quite capable. The Saint King who had thrown out the killing light saw that Lin Tian had shattered his killing light so easily. His eyes immediately narrowed, and then his expression turned cold. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Lin Tian in a flash. He directly slapped down. However, in the next moment, under the shocked gazes of the other Saint Kings, this Saint King suddenly collapsed on his own. Not even a trace of blood was left behind. He directly turned into dust that filled the sky. Lin Tian did not move at all. He did not stop walking. At that moment, the dozens of Saint Kings felt a sense of horror. To be able to so easily annihilate a cultivator of the same level as them in the blink of an eye, such ability frightened them. This person is not simple. Reporting to the lords inside, a powerful enemy has invaded. These Saint Kings had never imagined that there would be such an existence in this world. Immediately, someone ran toward the war palace. However, this person had only run a few feet when the space in this area vibrated, and an invisible pressure emerged. For a moment, this person's figure directly stopped. Then, with a poof, he exploded, and his body and soul were directly destroyed. At the same time, the dozens of other Saint Kings were also the same. At the same time, they collapsed one after another and turned into a bloody mist. Lin Tian's expression did not change. He continued to walk. Soon, he was dozens of feet away from the war palace. He gently flicked his finger. With a clang, the air vibrated and turned into a sharp air blade that flew out. It swept toward the celestial court war palace in front of him. It was like a peerlessly sharp divine weapon, directly splitting the war palace in half. Smoke and dust billowed, and a large part of the void was distorted. Boom! Chapter 2141. A ruler and 22 peak Saint Venerables charged out of the battle palace. Their faces were all gloomy and filled with murderous intent. After that, the group of people naturally saw Lin Tian. At the same time, they discovered that the dozens of saint rulers who had been guarding outside had all disappeared. There were specks of blood on the ground. How dare you? One of the Saint Venerables looked at Lin Tian with a bone-chilling gaze. At this moment, they could naturally guess that Lin Tian had destroyed the battle palace they had temporarily set up here. The dozens of saint rulers guarding outside had also been killed by Lin Tian. At the same time, they could also see that Lin Tian's cultivation was at the second heavenly layer of Saint Venerate. While they felt a chill, they were also somewhat surprised. They had never thought that there would be a cultivator at this level in such an ordinary great world. "You're courting death," one of the Saint Venerables said. Then he directly attacked. He took a step towards Lin Tian and waved his saint energy to suppress him. Lin Tian ignored them. His gaze landed on the black-robed ruler. He could vaguely sense that the other party had just stepped into the ruler realm not long ago. It was also at this moment that the Saint Venerate who attacked arrived before him. The murderous light became even sharper as it pressed down on Lin Tian's head. Lin Tian did not do anything. However, in the next moment, the powerful peak, Saint Venerate, suddenly trembled. The murderous intent and hostility he possessed caused the Reincarnation Heart Sutra to rebound. The murderous light he had unleashed was directly annihilated. He was sent flying like a scarecrow and exploded in the distance. Blood splattered everywhere. Only his soul was barely preserved. However, it was covered in cracks like a fragile piece of porcelain that could shatter at any moment. This scene caused the expressions of all the celestial court's experts to change. Even the ruler's eyes narrowed. Earlier, they had clearly not seen Lin Tian move at all. However, the peak Saint Venerate attacking Lin Tian had suddenly been injured and almost died. This scene was far too strange. Damn it! The Saint Venerable level powerhouse whose body had been destroyed quickly reformed his body. His face was pale, and he was both shocked and angry. Just now, he had attacked Lin Tian, and the killing light he released was about to drown Lin Tian. But he was suddenly hit by an invisible force. He did not know where that force came from, but it was terrifyingly strong. At this time, the peak's sacred venerate, who had reformed his body, didn't dare to rashly attack Lin Tian again, even though his face was filled with shock and anger. Because of what had just happened, he felt a sense of dread towards Lin Tian. Lin Tian noticed this person's gaze, but he didn't care at all. He only looked at the Dominator rank expert. Then, in the next moment, he moved. With a simple step, he appeared in front of the other party in an instant. Bang! 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 As he appeared in front of the Dominator rank expert, the surrounding space trembled from the natural pressure around him. An invisible force surged out, and all the Saint Venerates near the Dominator rank expert were immediately sent flying. The black-robed sovereign's pupils constricted, and his eyes were filled with shock. A second heavenly layer Saint Venerate actually had such a powerful presence. He had simply moved here, yet he had sent over 20 peak Saint Venerates flying. This was just too shocking. However, in the next moment, the shock in the Dominator's eyes turned into chilling, killing intent. No matter how powerful a second heavenly layer Saint Venerate was, he was only a Saint Venerate. However, Lin Tian, a Saint Venerate, dared to charge in front of a Dominator rank expert. He clearly wanted to fight him. How arrogant! With a cold voice, the Dominator rank expert directly attacked. He slapped towards Lin Tian. Light flashed in Lin Tian's eyes. He did not dodge. Instead, he met the attack with a punch. His main purpose in coming here was to fight this person who had just entered the Dominator rank not long ago. He wanted to use this battle to polish the Reincarnation Sutra he had just created. Thus, there was naturally no reason for him to dodge. Then, the fist and palm collided in the blink of an eye. With a boom, an explosive sound rang out in this place, and the surrounding space was instantly destroyed. The two of them staggered back at the same time, retreating more than 10 steps away. How is this possible? His physical strength is actually not weaker than the Dominator rank expert, Lord Qibao. The dozens of Saint Venerates who had been sent flying had already stabilized themselves. At first, they were shocked and furious. They were shocked by Lin Tian's powerful presence. Now, they were shocked by Lin Tian's physical strength. He was clearly only a second heavenly layer Saint Venerate, but the strength of his physical body was actually not weaker than a Dominator's. The black-robed Dominator was also shocked. His eyes narrowed again. He was also shocked by Lin Tian's physical strength. However, in the next moment, his eyes turned cold again. He attacked again, using a saint technique to suppress Lin Tian. With a boom, endless blades of light appeared behind him. Each blade of light was extremely terrifying and forceful. Lin Tian was fearless. He continued to meet the attack head-on. Now that the Reincarnation Sutra had been completed, his origin source was even brighter. It had also grown a special saint membrane, like a layer of seal. Those whose cultivation was not far higher than his would not be able to see his constitution at a glance. The peak Saint Venerates and the black-robed Dominator could not see his constitution anymore. They did not know that he had the Reincarnation Constitution. He stepped forward, sword light intertwined behind him. He activated the Reincarnation Sutra. Immediately, 9-colored sword light appeared. As the sword light appeared, the expressions of the Celestial Court experts changed again. For the first time, their expressions changed. 9-colored Saint Power. This, generally speaking, the vital spirit divine power or saint energy that ordinary cultivators cultivated usually only had one color. However, for some special bloodlines, special physiques, or some special ancient scriptures, the vital spirit divine power and saint energy would have multiple colors. However, according to the records of ancient history, 7 colors was the limit. Moreover, it was extremely rare, less than 1 in a billion. But now, in this place, they actually found a person who had 9 colors of saint energy. This was a shocking matter. Who are you? The black-robed Dominator could not help but ask Lin Tian. His divine technique collided with Lin Tian's sword light. A destructive aura exploded in the sky. He was also shocked by Lin Tian's nine-colored saint power. In fact, when he saw the nine-colored saint force, this sovereign rank expert's heart trembled for no reason, and his god spirit could not help but feel an eerie chill rise up. Lin Tian did not speak. The reincarnation sutra sped up. He activated the Chaos Emperor Fist. A nine-colored dragon and nine-colored phoenix intertwined and pressed toward his opponent. Chapter 2142. Using the vast life essence to increase his comprehension ability, Lin Tian had created his own core ancient scripture after 2 months. However, he hadn't created a true, offensive divine spell yet. He only had divine spells like the Tai Chi Divine Domain that he had created before. As a result, he still had to rely on divine spells like the Chaotic Emperor's Fist to attack in battle. Once he perfected the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, he would create his own offensive divine spell. Roar! Roar! He used the Reincarnation Heart Sutra and the Chaos Emperor Fist to attack. The force of his fist condensed a true dragon and a godly phoenix. The two resonated with each other, revealing 9 colors. They were vivid and lifelike. In the blink of an eye, they landed in front of the black-robed ruler. Wherever they passed, the void shattered. The black-robed ruler was shocked by the 9-colored saint power. Moreover, the true dragon and godly phoenix that were rushing over were also powerful enough. His eyes narrowed, and his saint power surged out of his body. He performed an even more powerful saint technique to meet the true dragon and godly phoenix. The two collided with each other, and with a boom, waves of destructive storms swept up in the area. Lin Tian shattered the black-robed ruler's saint power killing technique. He created afterimages with each step. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra intertwined with 9-colored saint light, using it to activate the divination divine skill. Divine statues formed one after another, pressing down on the black-robed ruler from all angles. The black-robed ruler vibrated his saint power and performed an even more powerful saint technique. In the blink of an eye, he was fighting fiercely with Lin Tian again. For a moment, there was a constant rumble. Explosions rang out in the area. Lin Tian fought fiercely with his opponent, using all his techniques. He used his own will to operate the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. During the battle, he separated a shred of consciousness to sense the state of operation of the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Then, he carefully memorized the state of operation of the Reincarnation Heart Sutra during the battle. He sensed which areas were outstanding and which areas needed to be improved and polished. He memorized them in his heart. He's on par with Lord Qi Bao. How is this possible? In the distance, the dozens of peak holy venerables were all shocked. In their field of vision, Lin Tian, who was only a second heaven holy venerate, was actually not at a disadvantage when fighting the black-robed ruler. At the same time, the black-robed dominator's expression was ugly. He couldn't help but grit his teeth. Lin Tian's 9-colored holy power was too troublesome. It seemed to be able to dissolve everything. When his divine power encountered Lin Tian's 9-colored holy power, he always felt that it was weakened. It was difficult for him to unleash his full power. This person's voice was cold as fury burned in his eyes. He was a mighty ruler, but he was actually unable to take down a second heavenly layer holy venerate. Moreover, his subordinates were watching from the side, which made him feel rather humiliated. In the next moment, this person let out a low roar. Tao energy suddenly surged out from his body, and his divine Tao laws surged like a raging sea. Die! Its divine Tao law was the corrosive divine Tao, capable of corroding and destroying everything. As this divine Tao law appeared, the surrounding space sizzled as it was directly corroded into nothingness. Lin Tian felt immense pressure, and even a trace of threat. However, his expression didn't change at all. Wang! The Reincarnation Heart Sutra circulated, and 9-colored holy light interweaved. Tao energy also surged out from his body. Nature divine Tao and lightning divine Tao interweave together, meeting the black-robed dominator's divine Tao. In the blink of an eye, the two collided and exploded loudly. The sky trembled violently, and large cracks appeared. With a pung sound, the black-robed dominator was sent flying. His body was stained with blood, and many cracks appeared. Blood flowed out. On the other side, Lin Tian's situation was even worse. Half of his body was in tatters, and one could even see his internal organs and bones. In the end, he's just a holy venerate. How can he compare to Lord Qi Bao, who is a dominator? In the distance, a peak holy venerate sneered. However, in the next moment his expression changed. This was because Lin Tian's injuries were suddenly recovering at an extremely shocking speed. In the blink of an eye, he was back to normal. How can he recover so quickly? Even if he has some kind of healing saint art, it can't be this fast. At the same time, the black-robed dominator's expression changed as well. His injuries were clearly not as serious as Lin Tian's. After separating from Lin Tian, he had immediately begun to heal, but now he had only recovered by 70%. However, Lin Tian's injuries, which were clearly much more serious than his own, were completely healed now. This shocked the black-robed dominator. Lin Tian's eyes shone brightly. He had mastered the healing saint technique, the art of nirvana of the sun, which could heal his injured body at an extremely fast speed. However, he had not used the saint technique just now. After he had been injured in the clash with the black-robed ruler, the nine-colored holy light from the Reincarnation Heart Sutra had automatically interwove to his injured body and healed his injuries. The speed at which it had healed him had moved him. Very good, he muttered to himself. The light in his eyes shone even brighter. He had never thought that the Reincarnation Heart Sutra's nine-colored holy light would have the ability to quickly heal his injuries. This surprised him, but it was also a pleasant surprise. Afterwards, his gaze fell back on the black-robed dominator. Again, he looked at his opponent and took a step forward. He appeared in front of his opponent and used the alchemy skills from the medicine classic to attack. Afterwards, he used formation seals, the dragon burial scripture, and the lunar sacred art in succession to attack the black-robed dominator. He used the Reincarnation Heart Sutra to complement these divine arts. He sensed the strengths and weaknesses of the various divine arts when used with the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. He firmly memorized all of this in preparation for creating his own divine arts that were compatible with the Reincarnation Heart Sutra in the future. Boom! 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 He and the black-robed dominator clashed fiercely. All sorts of divine arts and divine Tao laws were used. In the blink of an eye, he and the black-robed dominator had fought fiercely for 6 hours. The space here had been completely destroyed, and it would be difficult to recover in a short period of time. The ground had sunk down by dozens of feet, and it had been reduced to ruins. During this process, he had injured the black-robed dominator several times. He had also been injured several times. His understanding of the Reincarnation Heart Sutra had deepened considerably. He already had many ideas, and he was confident that he could perfect it in the future. Moreover, he had some vague ideas about the divine power killing technique that he was going to create in the future. It's about time. He looked at the black-robed dominator, and his voice was very calm. Then, the reincarnation forging divine art began to circulate. With a boom, the nine-colored holy light around his body suddenly surged. His essence, vitality, and spirit were all strengthened by 20 times. The black-robed dominator's expression immediately changed. He could not help but take a step back. You! At the same time, in the distance, the expressions of the dozens of other peak Saint Venerables also changed drastically. The aura that Lin Tian exuded at this moment had suddenly become much stronger. It was as if he had become a different person. His majestic might swept out in all directions. How is this possible? Chapter 2143. Lin Tianyi had not used the reincarnation forging mind technique since the beginning of his battle with the black-clothed dominator. He was here to refine the Reincarnation Heart Sutra, so he needed an opponent who was at least slightly stronger than him. Now that he had fought with the black-robed ruler, he had new ideas about the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. He also had some vague ideas about how to create a killing ability that complemented the Reincarnation Heart Sutra. Moreover, the two of them had already reached their limits. If they continued fighting like this, it would no longer be of any use to him. Therefore, he used the Reincarnation Forging Mind technique now. Because the Reincarnation Heart Sutra was completely compatible with the Reincarnation Origin, the Reincarnation Forging Mind technique increased his battle prowess from 10 times to 20 times. He was prepared to end this battle now. The black-clothed Dominator's expression changed when he saw Lin Tian's aura. How is this possible? He had fought with Lin Tian for so long, and they had been evenly matched throughout the entire battle. He had suffered heavy injuries, and his aura had dropped significantly. However, Lin Tian's aura had suddenly soared. Moreover, it had increased by 20 times. You were hiding your battle prowess just now? Looking at Lin Tian, he was both furious and shocked. When he fought with Lin Tianyi, he, a Dominator, had already used his full battle prowess. However, Lin Tian, a mere second heavenly layer Holy Venerate, had not used his full strength in the battle of life and death with him. A second heavenly layer, Holy Venerate, who had been hiding his battle prowess, was actually able to fight evenly with a Dominator. Lin Tian did not say anything else. He took a simple step forward and instantly appeared in front of the Dominator, pressing down with his palm. With a boom, his palm slammed down with 20 times his battle prowess. It was like the heavens were crashing down. It directly shattered all of the Saint energy defenses around the black-clothed Dominator's body, causing him to vomit blood and fly hundreds of feet away. Lord Qi Bao! In the distance, the several dozen peak-level Saint Venerables couldn't help but cry out. At this time, their faces couldn't help but become even more pale. The black-clothed ruler reformed his corporeal body in the distance, and when he looked at Lin Tian again, he was even more shocked and angry, but also fearful. He paused for a moment, gritted his teeth, and ordered the dozens of Saint Venerables in the distance. All of you, attack together, gather all of our Saint Qi, and kill him in one strike. He, a ruler, actually needed his subordinates to help a holy venerable cultivator. He couldn't bring himself to say something like that. He felt that it was too humiliating. However, after sensing Lin Tian's current aura, he finally said it. This was because Lin Tian's current aura was too terrifying. He really couldn't stop her by himself. Yes, Lord Qi Bao. In the distance, dozens of peak Saint Venerables nodded. Although they were afraid of Lin Tian, they were eager to get rid of Lin Tian. Lin Tian was too dangerous for them. Only by quickly killing Lin Tian could they be at ease. Immediately, whoosh, 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 whoosh. The dozens of Saint Venerables moved very quickly, all of them striding towards the black-clothed ruler. Lin Tian stepped forward, closing in on the black-clothed ruler. He glanced sideways at the dozens of Saint Venerables charging towards the battlefield, and a 9-colored saint light flashed in his eyes. Immediately, the dozens of Saint Venerables trembled, and their bodies came to a halt. Then, one after another, they exploded, and even their souls were annihilated. The black-clothed ruler couldn't help but tremble again. He was clearly only a second heaven Saint Venerable, but now, just a glance was enough to cause dozens of peak Saint Venerables to explode, their bodies and souls destroyed. This was a little too shocking. You're distracted. A calm voice rang out. Lin Tianyi stepped forward, and the primal Chaos Emperor's fist mercilessly pressed down. With a boom, this punch was launched with his battle prowess multiplied by 20. It could be said to be extremely domineering, and it instantly shattered the opponent. Gurgle! The sound of flesh wriggling was heard, and the black-clothed ruler quickly reformed his physical body. But his expression was even uglier. Lin Tian's expression didn't change. He stepped forward again and launched the primal Chaos Emperor's fist. This person was a ruler. Although he had multiplied his battle prowess by 20 times, it was obviously not very easy to kill a ruler. Boom! When the primal Chaos Emperor's fist was launched, it was as if a sacred drum had been struck and the bell of the end of the world had rung. The black-clothed ruler resisted with all his might, but he was sent flying again and again. At this time, he was no longer evenly matched with Lin Tianyi, who was operating the reincarnation forging divine art. He was in a disadvantageous position, and the aura he emitted was constantly weakening. In the blink of an eye, more than 15 minutes passed. More than 15 minutes passed, and the black-clothed ruler was shattered more than 10 times in a row. At this moment, as Lin Tianyi spat out the word die, the reincarnation diagram of the monarch's territory was launched with 20 times the battle prowess multiplied. The mighty divine pressure interweaved and directly crushed the opponent again. Moreover, this time, the opponent's spirit body couldn't be preserved and was annihilated along with his physical body. The place became quiet all of a sudden. Lin Tian paused in place and looked at the ruins in front of him. Originally, the Heavenly Court's temporary war palace had been set up in this world. However, because of his fierce battle with the black-clothed ruler, the war palace had long since been shattered into pieces. He took a simple step forward and arrived in front of the shattered battle palace. With a wave of his hand, he swept away a large amount of debris, revealing a huge altar. There was a jade bottle on it, surrounded by extremely dense essence of life. It was not damaged at all because of the collapse of the battle palace. He raised his hand and directly took the jade bottle. With a simple scan, he immediately sensed the boundless essence of life within. Although it was far less dense than the essence of life in the jade bottle he had obtained before, it was still shocking enough. However, there were no destructive forbidden artifacts here like the Great World from before. He was not surprised by this. If the black-clothed ruler attacked with his full strength, he would have been able to destroy an ordinary world like this in less than 15 minutes. Naturally, there was no need to use the forbidden artifacts from before. He put the jade bottle away and no longer paid any attention to this place. He directly left this world and soon entered the starry sky of this universe. He found another barren ancient planet in the starry sky and found a place for secluded cultivation in one of the barren mountains. The Reincarnation Heart Sutra had just been formed, and he had used it to temper himself in his battle with the black-clothed ruler. Now, he had comprehended quite a bit and was prepared to leave to perfect it and make it even stronger. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.